about multiplying. You know, it's just what it's really saying is I'm confused. I have to stop because I cannot understand your instructions. So the problem here, of course, is that this is of type string, and so you can't multiply a string times a string. Okay, and so we can convert this using the float. So that's a function call now. We're passing the string xh in, and the value we get back is the floating point version of that. And then we call float for this as well. And so now I'll save that. Always remember to save. So I'm going to run it, and so I'm going to run my hours of 10 and my rate of 10. And it's 100. And so that looks pretty good. Okay? So let's go ahead and try to run this in the autograder. And this is my idea is you'll take this and you'll copy it.
So
and you'll go back to the autograder now.
Or 50 rather.
And just paste this in. Okay? And so it says use 35 hours and a rate of 275. So let's check the code. 35 hours. Okay. 75.
It looks like my stream went
down.
No,
275. 2.75. And so it's running and it's running and it's running and it works. And of course, now I've got my grade. So this idea where you work here to get your assignment done correctly and then you run it in the autograder is the way I intend for you to do it. But again, if you can't do it that way, it's a great way to get started to just write your code in the autograder. And, you know, you can change your code in the autograder and then run it again. Of course, this is going to fail. 35.
Okay. Yeah, it looks
and
like my stream went down for like a split second.
2.75.
So let's pause. Let's pause old school right here because he put in a float. So that's actually pretty useful information right there. But yeah, the stream cut off for a millisecond. All right. All right, let's get back to it. Where were we? Where were we? All right. So we're gonna take all of this. We're gonna take all of this. We're gonna copy it. And then we're gonna delete it. We're gonna put it down here. We're gonna repaste it, but we know it works already, so we're gonna just hashtag them all out. So we don't have to worry about it for right now. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Wait, because I want to test this one out now, because he has. Hey, take your time. Take your time. I appreciate the help. You got me to a good point. Now I'm gonna test out his second method because he ran it too and his failed, but then he went back and corrected it. So let's check out and see if I can get it. And I'm gonna keep your code at the bottom. Let's take off the tabs real quick. So I put that off the screen. We'll bring this back. And he's using float. So he just really float. Oh, please give me one more chance. Would this work? Since they're both going to be put in float, right? This should work. This should work, right? Right? Oh shit, something never got closed. Oh, pay rate has this. Alright, let's try this again. Time 10. 10. Shit. Alright, well. Alright, let's continue. So
passing the string xh in, and the value we get back is the floating point version of that. And then we call float for this as well.
Alright, so they have to be separated. They have to be separated. You gotta keep them separated. Hey, hey. No friend of mine. You're under 16, you won't be doing anything. Come out and blood. Alright, let's check it out now. I dare you to give me a BS answer. 10. 10. Yeah. You see it. You see it. It's $100, baby. You see it. We in here.
Oh, yeah! I heard what you said about me a few days ago, yeah.
Oh, man.
Dynamite! 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 Dynamite!
And it comes out nicely, so let's run it again. Let's say yeesh. Wait a minute. Oh, I put a plus E in there. Let's run that one more time. That was my fault. Hours, let's say 8 hours. If I work 8 hours, but I made 1 per hour. 8 times. Oh, it was giving me an integer. Raised to the power. Damn. Okay. Big money over here. Big money over here.
Dynamite! 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 Dynamite!
Okay. We definitely feel.
Do you feel in charge?
Yeah. Southern. Southern, you still stepping away? I remember he said he was going to go check on his son, so hope he's all right. I know Danny is out in the wild. We're gonna push on. That was a good test.
And so now I'll save that. Always remember to save. So I'm going to run it, and so I'm going to run my hours of 10 and my rate of 10. And it's 100. And so that looks pretty good. Okay? So let's go ahead and try to run this in the autograder. And this is my idea is you'll take this and you'll copy it, and you'll go back to the autograder now and just paste this in. Okay? And so it says use 35 hours and a rate of 275. So let's check the code. 35 hours, okay, 75. Oh, no, 275, 2.75. And so it's running, and it's running, and it's running, and it works. And of course, now I've got my grade. So this idea where you work here to get your assignment done correctly, and then you run it in the autograder is the way I intend for you to do it. But again, if you can't do it that way, it's a great way to get started to just write your code in the autograder. And, you know, you can change your code in the autograder and then run it again. Of course, this is going to fail. 35 and 2.75. And of course, you get a mismatch, and now it's angry at you. And the mismatch here, of course, is because I print howdy pay and pay. And it's real picky about it. And you think, oh, I got the 96.25 right. Well, it doesn't really care so much about that. So let me go ahead and fix this and run it so we leave on a successful note. 35 hours and 2.75 as the rate per hour. It's kind of a low rate per hour. And we're getting successful. And of course, that means that you now have a grade on assignment 2.3. Look at that. I got a grade on assignment 2.3. Unless, of course, you're running this in some other environment. Okay? Thank you so much, and I hope that this has been useful to you.
It sure has. Thanks, motherfucker. Alright, so what's the answer to this then? 4.0, right? Alright, cool. Next.
Hello and welcome to Chapter 3, Conditional Execution. In conditional execution, we meet the if statement. The if statement is where Python can go one way or another way, and it's the beginning of sort of our way of making Python make decisions for us. Sequential code, we just do some things. Sometimes that's useful, but now we can have our code check something and then make a decision based on that thing. So the conditional steps in Python are pretty straightforward. The keyword that we're going to use is the if statement. And so if is a reserved word. And the if statement has as part of it a question that it asks. And this is asking if x is less than 10. And the colon is the end of the if statement. And then we begin an indented block of text. And the way this works in this particular thing is this line is the conditional line. If the question is true, the line executes, and if the question is false, the line is skipped. And you can think of it the way this is, right? X is 5, ask a question, is it 10 or not? These questions do not harm the value of x. If it is, then we run this code, and then we sort of rejoin here, and then we test this next if, and if that's true, we do this code, and then we do there. But in this case, it's going to be false because x is not less than 20, and so it just continues down here. So if we look at how this works, it runs this line, then it sees this question, it skips that line. So this line does not run, and so smaller prints out and fini prints out. Okay? And so that's the basic idea of an if statement. And the indentation, when we are done with an if statement, we de-indent back, and there's this little block. This is one sort of if statement, and this is another if statement. And these are the two conditional lines that either run or they don't run, depending on the question, the answer to that question. So we have a number of different comparison operators that we can use to ask these true-false questions that say, is this true? So again, we're kind of limited to the keys that were on computer keyboards in 1940s and 1950s, less than or equal to. So we didn't have fancy math characters, so we just concatenated less than and equal to be less than or equal to. This double equals is the asking, is this equal to? And so that's a little tricky. The equal sign is that assignment operator. If I was building a language today from scratch, I would probably make assignment be arrow and the equals question to have an equals. Or I might say, somewhere I would say question equals. But I'm not building this language, so it's not up to me. So this is the question. Double equals is asking the question is equal to. Greater than or equal, greater than, and not equal. So this is the exclamation point is sort of like not equal. So that's sort of not equal. So that's how we do not equal. So if we take a look at some of these in some examples, all of these are going to be true because of the way x is set. If x is equal to 5, that's the question version. That's true or false. It'll execute that. If x is greater than 4, it's going to execute that. If x is greater than or equal to 5, it's going to execute that. Here's kind of a shorthand where if there's only one line in this block, you can kind of pull it up right on the same line after the equals. If x is less than 6, which it is, true, execute that. Then if x is less than or equal to 5, do that. And if x is not equal to 6, do that. Now, like I said, all these questions have been carefully constructed so that they're true, just to kind of show you the syntax of those comparison operators. Now, you don't just have to have a single line of text in the indented block, and this will be something you're going to get used to. So if we indent more than one line, then the conditional code is actually these 3 lines. So the idea is you have an if statement, you come in, you do an indent, and as long as you stay indented, you stay in that if block. If it's false, it just skips all of those. So the way this is going to execute, x is 5, print before 5, is x equal 5, that's the question mark, and that's true. So it's going to run all these, and then come back, and then continue on, and then de-indent, so all this stuff is running, right? And then it says x equals 6, well that was false, so that skips all of them. So none of these lines of code run, so these actually don't run, and it says afterwards 6, so that's a mistake. Those don't run right there, okay, because x is not equal 6. Okay? So indentation is an essential part of Python. We use indentation in lots of programming languages, often to kind of demarcate blocks, to show where blocks start and stop. But in Python, it's syntactically correct. You can make an error if your indentation is wrong. After an if, you must indent. And you maintain the indent as long as you want to be in that same if block. And then when you're done with the if block, you reduce the indent. In this rule of indenting, comment lines and blank lines are completely ignored. So we're going to tend to like put 4 spaces. 4 spaces ends up being the normal thing that we do, and you'll see all the code that I write has 4 spaces for each indent. If I go in twice, I use 8 spaces. And we have this instinct of wanting to hit the tab key to move in 4 spaces. Now the problem is that it might look the same on your screen. A tab and 4 spaces might line up the same place depending on how tabs are set. But Python can get confused by that. So we tend to avoid using actual tabs in files. And so most programming text editors, like if you're using Notepad or Text Wrangler, there's a place to set the tabs to say don't put tabs in this document, but every time you hit a tab, move over 4 spaces. And so you hit a tab, but it's like space, 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 space. Now the nice thing about Atom, and this is the text editor we tend to recommend in this class, because it works on Windows, Linux, and Mac, but also because it automatically sets this up. As soon as you save your file with a .py extension, you can sort of hit the tab key with impunity, and everything works perfectly. But the key thing here is that Python insists that you get this right, and if you don't get this right, you're going to get indentation errors, and they're just another syntax error. So if you're using something like Text Wrangler or Notepad, hunt around in the preferences and you'll find something about expanding tabs, or maybe how many spaces each tab stop is supposed to be. And so you check these, and what this really is doing is telling your text editor never put an actual tab in the document, but somehow simulate tab stops using spaces. And so here is a bit of code. It's got a nested block, but it gives you this sense that you have to be very explicit when you're reading Python code of whether the indent is the same between 2 lines, the same, increased, or decreased. And so you've got, every time you increase it, you mean something, and every time you decrease it, you mean something, and literally if it stays the same, you mean something as well. And so if we take a look at this, here we have a line, and the next line has the same indent. This is an if with a colon.
I was just going to ask,
have
that's
to
something we
increase.
did. Let's adjust that real quick there. Edit. Something in my settings. Preference. Keyboard shortcut, migrate keyboard, extension, telemetry settings, size, font family. Oh, editor, the number of space tabs. Oh, it's already set to 4, so I don't have to change anything. All right, cool.
The indent, and now we're maintaining it. Okay, so these two lines are part of that if, but now we have de-indented. So whether you choose to de-indent this word or whatever, the where you do this de-indent affects the scope of how far this if statement lasts, right? It lasts up to, but not including, the line that's de-indented to the same level as the if. Okay, so this is a de-indent. Now we have a blank line, which doesn't matter, and we maintain it. And we have a for, which we'll learn about in the next chapter, which is a looping structure. Let's do a for runs this 5 times. It has a colon, and it also expects an indented block. Now we have what's called a nested block, where we have an if and a colon, and we go into some more. So this is like 2 indents, right? So these are 1 indent, and these are 2 indents. And so this is a block within a block. And then we de-indent. So that means this print is not part of the if statement, but it's still part of the for statement. And then we de-indent again, and then that means this print is sort of on the same level as that for statement. So if you start thinking about this, you want to be able to start thinking that these blocks are the start of the block with the colon line up to but not including this line that's been de-indented. So the for goes this far, right? The for goes up to, but not including the line that's de-indented. The if goes up to, but not including the line that's de-indented. So as you do this, you'll sort of mentally start drawing these blocks. And pretty soon, you will start constructing them as blocks. And it takes a while, but
y'all both back at the same time. Welcome back.
Python, unlike other languages...
So we're learning about if statements.
In Python, unlike other languages, you have, this is very important and it matters, and you can have syntax errors if you get it wrong, because you're really communicating the shape and structure of your code using these indents and de-indents. We already saw a nested indent. This is a nested if, so you can put an if within an if, and you can go as far deep as you want to go, like Russian dolls. And so here we have x equals 42. If it's 1, we indent 1. And then with this next thing we do, these are at the same level of indent, but now we see an if, and it has to indent further. So this is like 2 in, 8 spaces. And then we de-indent back. Actually, we de-indent back 2. And so if you watch this and you take a look at how this works, it runs to here. Oops. Back up.
Is that a normal
Comes
thing
in here,
to do?
the answer is yes, x is greater than
like
1.
The blueprinting, trying to think it out before you give it to the computer to do? Is this normal? Is this something you normally do?
Is x less than 100? Well, it's 42, so the answer is yes. So it runs this, and then it kind of continues back to there. And you can also think of drawing boxes around this. This is one if box, and then within that if box there is another if box. And again, it's the indent block up to but not including where the de-indent happens. And this here is like 2 backwards de-indents. So it ends
okay, so it's a some people
so 2
type
blocks
thing.
are ended by
Southern, you good, man? You was
this.
gone for a minute.
This in,
Everything all
we
right?
could move this out. We could have it all the way into here. We could have it to here or here. And where we put that line depends on how the ends of these blocks are going to work out. So one form of that's a 1-branch if that we just saw, but then you can also have what's called a 2-branch if. And the basic idea of a 2-branch if is that you're going to come in, you're going to ask a question, and you're going to go one direction if it's yes, and another direction if it's no. We call this an if-then-else. It's kind of like a fork in the road. And the way to think about it is, depending on the output of this question, we're going to pick 1 or 2 of these, but if we pick one, the other one's never going to happen. So it's like an either-or. We're either going to go one way, or we're going to go the other way, but there is no path where we somehow go boot through both of them. That doesn't happen. And the syntax that we use for this is what we call the if-then-else. And so the first part is normal if with an indent, and then we de-indent, and then this is another reserved word, else, with a colon, and then we re-indent. And so this is really end up being part of a whole block here, and the else is the part, this is the part that runs if it's false, and this is the part that runs if it's true. The first branch of the if The first indented block is what runs if it's true, and the second indented block is the one that runs if it's false. And so here we go. It just, if x is greater than 2, in this case it's yes, we're going to print bigger, and then we're going to be all done. And so we do 1, and so this one did run, and this one did not run. So basically with an if then else, one of the two branches is going to run, but there's no case in which both branches run.
Well, I appreciate y'all
sort
joining
of draw these blocks
with those
around these things
endeavors
mentally.
in your
And
hands.
This one you sort of take from the
Because
if, not the else is really part of the
not
block.
only today
up
are
to,
y'all
but not
helping me,
including
yesterday
that
was
print,
a
which is
blast.
back indented, de-indented back to the same level as the if statement. Okay. This Python is actually one of the more elegant languages, even though after a while this indenting and when you get too far in, it gets a little bit complex. But this is a good way to visualize this with these indents. Coming up next, we're going to talk about some more complex conditional structures.
Okay, Mr. Smooth with the outro. I see you. Okay. To move on, which code is indented correctly to print yes if x equals 0 and y equals 10? If it would be this one, right? Because it's all in the same thing. Every time you have an if, you have to indent. That's all I remember. Or am I wrong? Sorry, you're not right. Oh. Then it's this one. So even with the print, I don't believe that. Hold on. Take me
Then
to one of his
affects
examples.
the scope of how far this
Oh, yeah,
if
it
statement
did happen
lasts,
this
right?
way.
It lasts up to, but not including, the line that's de-indented to the same
I
level
need
as
to
the
see
if.
this part. I
Okay,
was
so
just
this is a
looking at this part.
de-indent. Now we have a blank line, which doesn't matter, and we maintain it. And we have a for, which we'll learn about in the next chapter, which is a looping structure. Let's do a for runs this 5 times. It has a colon, and it also expects an indented block. Now we have what's called a nested block, where we have an if and a colon, and we go into some more. So this is like 2 indents, right? So these are 1 indent, and these are 2 indents. And so this is a block within a block. And then we de-indent, so that means this print is not part of the if statement, but is still part of the for statement. And then we de-indent again, and then that means this print is sort of on the same level as that for statement.
Oh, the update
So if
that
you
you were
start
talking about
thinking
to help
about
me with
this,
yesterday. Right now, I'm just trying to
You
figure out
wanna
why
be
my
able to start
stream is still
thinking that
lagging.
these blocks are the start of the block with the colon line up to where the up to but not including this line that's been de-indented. So the for goes this far, right? The for goes up to but not including the line that's de-indented. The if goes up to but not including the line that's de-indented. So as you do this,
Okay.
you'll sort of mentally start drawing these blocks. And pretty soon you will start constructing them as blocks. And it takes a while, but doesn't take...
All right, next. Oh, we got more exercises. Which line should be surrounded by trying blocks? All right, let's open. Let's see what we got here.
Everybody, I'm Charles Severance. I'm the instructor for the class, and right now I want to go do exercise 3.1. Rewrite the pay computation that we did earlier in the previous chapter and give the employee 1.5 times the hourly rate. This is rather simple. It's a very classic computer problem because it gives us our if then else, and there's a lot of different ways to write it. So we're just going to do enter the hours, enter the rate, and do the pay. And so I'm going to start by going into my terminal. CD into my desktop, CD Python for everybody. And so here we go. Let me go into Atom and get things started.
Battery's dying.
I've already got this folder, this file from the last one, to assignment 2.3.
Mechanic? So what you trying to do with that?
I'm just going to save as. So I'm going to duplicate this file.
Are you trying to get into the...
Go up to PY4E, and then I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call that folder EX0301 for exercise 3.1, and then I'm going to call this EX0301.py. Now that's just the same files I had before, and if I do an ls, you'll see I've got the new folder. So I CD into the EX0301 folder. So that's the folder that I'm in, all the way down into this folder, and I do an ls and I see this file, and so life is good. And I can say Python 3 EX0301py. I'll just put in 1010, so it's 100. Now the thing is that we're supposed to give time and a half for overtime, and so that means if there's more than 40 hours, 10 and 50, it's not supposed to be 500, it's supposed to be 500 plus half of 10 extra hours, because the 10 extra hours are the 10 above 50, so that should be, I don't know, we'll figure it out. It's easier to run a computer. Okay, so this is the code we've got. So what I'm going to do is change this. I'm going to make a new variable called AR. I'll call it FR, stands for floating point rate. And floating point rate is going to be the float of the string rate. Let me just call this SH for string hours and SR for string rate and SR. So this stands, my variable is FR for floating point rate, just so I can keep them straight in my head. SH is string hours, and so now I'm going to say floating point hours is equal to float.
What would you do with machine learning?
Of
or what's your goal or intentions with
string hours. And now I can change this, so I just
really like awkward that he would like in the middle of his shit change up his program. Like you just change the names of a bunch of stuff. I don't know if I approve of this. It's cold-blooded. It's cold-blooded.
FH times FR. So I split this out. I can even like print FH comma FR. It's perfectly fine when you're writing this to add like, extra print statements just for your own sanity. So now we're going to read the two values, we're going to convert them to floating point numbers, we're going to print those floating point numbers out, we're going to multiply them, and then we're going to have the pays. And then I save it. Always remember to save it, right? So it has this little dot up here. All editors give you something that tells you you didn't save it. And so I always keep saving it, because if you come down here and you run it and it's like, it didn't change. Well, that's because you forgot.
What are you trying to build, though?
So let's do our 10 and 50 hours. So we see this extra print statement that came out. That's that extra print statement right there. Let me make this a little smaller, and let's move this over here so we can see it a little better. Yeah, make it a little bigger so we can see a little better. So that print statement's there. And, just for yucks, I'm going to comment that out. And so commenting things out is a good way to keep stuff in that you might want to kind of turn back on. It's a way of thinking about it. I don't want this line to run, but I'm just keeping it here. Comments are usually for users to read, but they're also a way to tell the computer to ignore what we're doing. So, okay, so the problem here is this calculation, that is not time and a half for overtime. So, so the way we're going to solve this is with an if statement. If the floating point hours, FR, is greater than 40, we should, I'll say print overtime, and then else, colon, the if and the else have to line up, print regular. So I'm not going to do anything different. I'm just going to print the words regular and overtime. Okay? And I just save that. I'll do it so fast you'll watch the little blue dot happen and then go away. That's because I hit Command S to save it, because I've done this way too many times. So I'm going to run it. I'm going to say, hours is 10 hours, $10 an hour. It's regular pay. If I do it this way, I can do 50 hours at $10 an hour. That's not good. What'd I do wrong?
Oh, he's making
FR
mistakes.
is greater than 40. What did I do wrong? It's still saying for 50 hours. Something's wrong here. It's saying it's regular. If FR is greater than... Oh! That's because I just messed my program up.
I
Look,
said
I
it in
called
the
this
beginning
variable
when he did it.
S8.
When he changed this stuff in the beginning, like, why wouldn't he just leave that? Why wouldn't he just leave that there so it wouldn't? Because once you change it, if you've already written it and it worked one way, why would you go back and change it? I felt like he was just showing off, and now he's about to do it again. Shit, if y'all want, I can open up the Discord. Hell. Oh, this is a great example for logic error. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't be so hard on him. I just felt like him changing it mid programming was uncalled for. There's no, well, I'm not gonna say no way I would, but stick with what you know works.
H and this SR, and then I get the floating point for the hours. But look, I'm checking if the rate, FR, that's the mistake. So it's really, I've got to look for FH. That's a logic error. It's a perfectly fine program. Python's perfectly happy with that. And I was messing up. I kept putting, see, I was typing the rate in. I was just typing it backwards. I was crazy. And again, that can be the kind of mistake that you run into. I mean, I didn't do that on purpose. I did it because I haven't drank enough coffee yet this morning. Hang on, let me get some coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
I have more coffee. I'm still going to make mistakes.
I'm fueled by the tears of my enemy.
There's no little blue dot, so it should work better now. Python, run it. So 10 hours, $10 is regular pay. Run it. 50 hours, $10. I did it wrong again. I told you what I wanted to change, and then I didn't change it. FH. I'm like crazy. Again, you can be crazy too. Can you look right at it? I looked right at it. I did the wrong thing. Hooray! It says overtime. And now you notice, I mean, I'm not being silly here where I put this print statement in, and it's so tempting for a programmer to just immediately try to bam, finish it. And I don't know why I did it this way. Maybe because I know that I'm flawed, and I know that I make dumb mistakes like that. And what can I do? So I was just being really careful there. Now I know, let's just be sure, if it's under 40 hours, it's going to be a regular computation.
Yeah, Danny, me, you on
and
the
I'm
same
going to leave
page,
these print
bro,
statements right in here for a while because
all this
whatever.
shorthand shit.
So here's the interesting thing.
What's
So I'm just going to indent this because the regular pay is to take the number of the hours times the rate.
Now he spent so much time going
and now I got to come up with a slightly different
errors.
Pay. XP is equal to. And so there's a couple ways to do this. We can say time and a half can be calculated by saying the rate times the hours. Well, let's do it this way. Let's call it regular.
And he's
the regular pay is the rate times the hours.
That's just more
FR
distracting
times
than anything.
FH. And then the overtime pay is equal to the... Now we know that we have more than 40 hours because we couldn't...
All right. We'll let this ride. Let's go ahead and start our version of this, shall we? hearing it, I got the gist of it. I feel like there's about 6 minutes left, so there's maybe something else I'm missing, but I'm more eager to write something now than listen to him keep changing shit up. You'll see a lot of older engineers using very shorthand variables names because of old programming language and platforms were much more limited. Okay. He's a product of the time. But we're not going to judge him because he's teaching me this shit for free. So let's see if we can emulate this. Okay. All right, let's go real quick and just CLS. Let's just clear this all out. The last thing we ran was this. And just to make sure it works. All right, cool. Total $100. Dare I say, let me be a little bit more peculiar. Let's add a total control S so we get full letters. All right. So now the magic of F strings. Are you talking about the if statements? What I'm about to do now, or function strings? What does F stand for? The F is for lasagna. Wheezy F baby. Okay, you're saying print. Go RKO him. No, don't do that.
Oh yeah!
RKO. It's just a type of formatting string. Should I type that directly or should I replace the current print I have right now? Either or. Okay, so let's give it a new line. We can do this 2 ways. You know, because you taught me a few things yesterday. So we can just blank this out so we don't have to worry about it. And if it does have an issue with it, then we can bring it back. No problem. You're telling me to print. Okay, print F total oh, this is fancy pay rate. Okay. So you're telling me it makes things much cleaner. It makes things much cleaner when you want something like print F. You have worked hours at a rate of cash dollars per hour. It makes things much cleaner when you want something like print F quotation mark. You have worked hours at a rate of cash dollars per hour. Nice. May want to put some space after. Oh yeah, I'll get that thing where things don't look. When I was typing yesterday, I figured that out. All right, let's run this. Enter time. 10. Cash 10. Huh. It's the same exact thing. Okay. All right, then let's try the if statement then. So I'll also put this here because this was part of the code that you gave me in the initial. So let's hit Control S here. It's just a cleaner way of inserting variables into the output. Okay, so it's not necessarily an aesthetic, but it will help me. It will help me better clean up things, I guess. Like just when I get better with this stuff. All right. Okay. So for text editor, let's go CLS. All right. Because he changed up so much stuff, I don't even know where to start. All right, let's just don't panic. How about that? So I remember he blanked this out, and then he started his new line. In words. Welcome back, Southern. Okay, so I'm doing the if statement. I'm basically so I want to say if we if you work 40 hours, that's going to be regular pay. And I wanted to say that. And then if you work over 40 hours, it should say that it's overtime. And I'm guessing the amount that is overtime should be identified as overtime. Is that too much of a request? Dan the man, he's out here trying to save the world, my guy. Southern. He's teaching Python and in addition to saving the world. So I think like what? Okay, let's just fuck it. Let's just go with it, right? What's the worst that can happen? If my hours, so okay, wait. Wait. Okay. Oh, I see. If okay, wait. I gotta make something here first. I have to make like, because I don't know what to call floating hours. So do I have to make floating hours into an input first? So I'll actually steal that from him. Oh well, actually no, I'm gonna write that shit out. Float hours. Let's just make it short. Float hours equals float hours equals float float hours. Alright, for starters, it's the same color, so I can't really be upset. Let's do the same thing for float time. Or float cache, rather. Copy float, and then we'll call this cache. Cache. And then we'll make this cache as well. Alright, float hour. Alright. So now I feel like I can make the if statement. You can also reuse the same variable. Hours equals float hours. Oh, I can do that, so I don't have to call it float hours. Okay, cool. Hours. Ah, shit. Hours. So we can then call this cache. Or you can wrap the input, but don't do it if you're going to make this if it is going to make it confusing. Hours equals float hours. Oh yeah, I tried to tell him last night, Southern. He's a box of humbleness. He needs to fly closer to the sun. Clap it up for being humble, though. He needs to fly closer to the sun. Because
I was born in it.
Yeah.
Molded by it.
Yep. That's you. You were molded by this. All right. So then here we are. Okay, we're back at the starting point. So, shit. But how does it know which one I want to use now if I name them the same thing? Hours equals float. That was the method you taught me last time. Oh, it'll be run top to bottom. Okay. So it doesn't matter. All right, cool. The bottommost one will be taken. Okay, cool. Yes, top to bottom. All right, so then let's go with the basics. All right, so if hour is greater than, I don't know where the hell that, oh, it's right there. All right, cool. Whoops. Greater than 40, right? 40 hours. Enter. Oh, and since it sees the if already, it's already indented it. So print. Shit. All right, print. Overtime, right? print overtime. Reg. What is? Oh, print. Okay, so then I can just say print. No, print pay rate, right? Pay rate. Because check this out. And because you're telling me that it runs top to bottom, that means I can do this. I can type it out as just hour multiply multiply and cash, because it goes top bottom, right? I mean bottom to top, so it should remember that. All right. Oh, we can't see anything line 8. Shit. So this is where I'm at currently. That's it. That's all I need for this line, right? So then let's go to the next one. And then the other option is else. Print. The first 40 hours are at normal rate, and anything else is times and a half, correct? Yes, correct. Oh, so I need a statement there. Okay. So overtime pay equals overtime pay, whoops, tab times 1.5. No. You're right. It should be plus cash. Oh, where's my parentheses? Cash times 1.5. All right. No, Southerner, he is great. Like, the only thing he's lacking is a bolstering sense of confidence and the utmost appreciation for his help. When I tell you he's good, he's really good. But he has this idea. He has this idea that he's not worth his praise. I need to find a button that says, where's the thank you button? I don't have one. But we have bombs we can drop. We do have bombs. Can't go wrong with the dynamite. All right, where were we? Okay, so now we have the overtime. This is really starting to. All right, let me just make sure I understand this. This stuff up here no longer matters because it's been overridden by the new stuff, and I have a new pay rate because my old pay rate's gone. So with this new information, I can make a new chart, an if statement. The if statement is the amount of hours is less than 40, which I'll get from here. So, and if that's true, it'll skip this whole entire thing. But if it's false, if it's more than 40, it will actually take this into consideration. Oh shit, line 1 and 2 still matter? I almost deleted them. Alright, line 1 and 2 still matter. 3 and 4 are just converting the inputs from line 1 and 2. Line 5 you can get rid of. I really grown attached to line 5 though. Can we keep it for now? Can we keep it for now? Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it's being overridden by this one. It's being overridden by the if statement. You're right. I don't need it. But just because we don't need it doesn't mean I can't practice using ways of just blocking stuff out. Alright, so line 5 is out. So if this is true, then it'll actually take this into consideration. Why does my overtime look funny? Why is it yellow? Is not defined. Oh, I never defined overtime? Yeah, I think it looks like I've defined line 5. Alright, so else overtime says it's not real, but okay, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Print if it's normal, so just print. Else just print. It's gonna be just print the pay rate. Pay rate. I gotta stop using capitals. If you input 100 hours at $1 per hour, you should get 40 hours. Normal rate plus 60. Leftover times 1.5 times and a half. 40 plus 90, 130 hours. Line 10 is having problems because you're defining overtime pay for the first time, but also using overtime pay to calculate it. Oh shit. So it shouldn't be on the right side of the equation. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So it would just be, let's open a parentheses. It should be like what? Overtime should be, I guess you have to know what overtime is. So it's, to your point, it was, if you input 100 hours, overtime pay equals overtime hours times cash. But we've never defined what overtime hours are. So are we gonna have to define that? We never defined overtime pay. Oh wait, yeah we did. but we never defined overtime hour. Oh, okay. I fucks with it. All right. So, okay, overtime. All right. At least you know I'm thinking about it. I was like, we never defined that shit. So why would I know what that is? Overtime hour. Okay. And you're saying times? I thought it would be. I said, okay, overtime. Shoot. Okay. So now, but it has to be before line 10 because if you can't, and I know why you just said that because it goes from top to bottom. So if I put the definition of something below it, they'll never know what it is. It will give me some type of error, and I'll be sitting there, baffled, humiliated. All right. Overtime pay equals hours minus 40. It's still not defined. I have to move it up higher. Whoops. My bad. Whoops. Overtime hour. It's still in mother. Oh wait, I put pay. This should be hour. It's gone. All right. So now this statement reads out: print overtime if overtime hour, which is a new variable for us, is the amount of hours within total. So if it's 100 minus 40. So the remaining time, which would be 60, and your pay rate should be the hour. Oh shit, hold on. This isn't gonna work. Because then your pay rate should be hours times cash. Overtime pay should be your overtime hour, which will be 60 times the cash you made times 1.5. So this 10, this doesn't even help in this function right now. Am I right? 10 is useless to us. All right. You see your boy's catching on quick. Yeah. That's what I thought. This 10 would be useless to us. Your boy catches on quick. All right, so now this is what we got. And I know I can delete it, but I enjoy being able to see my errors in real time. So, all right, so this statement is complete now. Now let's make the else statement. The else statement is you want to print the pay rate. Oh no. We actually did need it. We did need it because we want it to go here if it doesn't work. Or do you have the total pay for someone who worked overtime? Yes. Overtime pay. Wait, do you have the total pay Yeah, overtime pay should tell me how much someone made. You have the total pay for someone who worked overtime. Do you have the total pay for someone who worked overtime? Yes, overtime pay would tell me how much someone made. Yeah. But I'm keeping pay rate because if this statement is false, pay rate actually... If you worked 100 hours at $1 an hour, what would your code do? What would my code do if I worked 100 hours at $1? I mean, okay. If you worked 100 hours at $1, it would just pay me $100. It would do nothing. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. It would pay me. Now I feel like I just want to run it to see what would happen. Will it run it up until the point? Can I run it just to see what would happen? Because now, like I don't know what you're asking me as it correlates to this, because I don't know where it's coming from. Hold on, let's hit Control S. Let's go here real quick. What last time I ran? Let's use your example, 100. Enter time. You said 100 hours, yeah, and it was at $1. It would go into overtime. It ran a little bit, but it didn't tell me anything. It got stuck at overtime, but it knows that it has to print overtime. Overtime hour minus. It should say print over underscore pay. My point exactly. Okay, where do you want print overtime underscore pay? Okay, so you want that here, but I don't have anything that has. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay, because I've already defined that here. So let's put that here. Control S. Run me back my money. 100. 1. Nope. Overtime pay. Oh, you meant print the variable, so let me undo my mistake. I meant print the variable. So I might have to bring you on Discord, because like now reading it is like it's all fuzzled up. You got a second to break this down? Because like I only have what you're telling me plus the example I'm seeing. And his example, he changed something up, so I would have to read it again and make adjustments as he does, since he uses shorthand. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Man, the man. What's up? Clap it up, everybody. We got Dan back in the building. Drop a bomb for him. Drop a bomb for him. We got him back in the building. Got him back in the building. Southern, we got him in the building. All right. So tell me where I'm effing up here, because clearly, and I'm gonna rearrange some stuff. Like I feel like he had 4 lines in this shit, and I have 20.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right, so can you scroll down a little bit past line 8?
Yes.
What I really want to see is the if hour is greater than 40. So what's happening first is in line 8, you're printing the string overtime, which is good because you're basically saying, hey, we've reached the overtime condition where we've detected that the user has worked, or the person we're calculating for has worked more than 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of like, it's like a debug print statement. Those are really useful when you're just trying to figure out like what your code's actually doing. You can just sprinkle those throughout as just kind of help you along. And so what I was saying is, so what you're doing right now is if hours more than 40, so the person has worked more than 40 hours, so they have worked overtime, some amount of overtime. We don't know. It could be, half an hour. It could be 60 hours in the case that we're using. So what you're doing is you're saying, okay, the overtime hour is the total number of hours minus 40. Because 40 is the basic amount. You don't get paid extra for that. You just get paid the default rate.
Yeah.
So that's the overtime hour. And then you're saying the overtime pay is the overtime hour times your pay rate
Your rate
times
cash.
1.5. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's correct. And so what I was saying is right after line 11, you should print out the variable overtime pay. So you can actually see what the overtime
see the
pay
results
is.
of it. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
print. Oh, that makes so much more sense now. Okay. Print overtime pay.
And then let's run that with the example we've been using to see what that does.
Okay. That makes more sense now. I was like, nah, I got too much green shit on the page right now. And the thing about it is like, I don't know if this is me being like just random. Every code I write, I cherish it. I really do, and I don't feel comfortable deleting it. I'm like, no, wait, hold on. It took me a while to write this, and it might work
That's
someday.
awesome. Okay, so one thing I noticed you just did on stream is you put it in quotes.
Yeah.
And when you put it in quotes, Python is going to interpret that as a string. And so it's literally just going to output like the words overtime underscore pay and not the variable overtime pay. So you're going to need to remove the double quotes from that.
The double quotes, okay. Okay. Is okay, because when I have the quotes, it's just telling Python to put this in words, sort of like when it shows up here. But without it, it'll give me an exact variable. Okay, cool. Let's save that. Let's go here. I will continue to use your example. 90 overtime. Oh, snaps, it worked. Oh, shit. It worked.
Yeah. And so it output exactly what I was expecting, which is 90, which is correct for the overtime pay, but that's not the total pay.
That's
so what
not
you need
the
to
total
do,
pay. You just, all this is telling me is how much I made in overtime.
Exactly.
So I would have to, we're about to expand this project right now, because else would tell me like, so if I want to add another statement like with this, if it's giving me just the overtime pay, I want to now add it to my regular pay. No, my regular pay without overtime, so I can see my total.
Right. Yep. Yeah, in both cases, you're trying to calculate the total pay. In one
Okay.
case, you have one extra number you need to factor in, which is overtime pay.
Okay. 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 Oh wait, someone sent me something on Discord. Oh, did you send me something on Discord? What is this?
Uh,
Oh,
is it
this.
the Windows subsystem for Linux for
Oh
in
yes,
VS
yes,
Code?
yes, yes. Hey, what
Yeah,
up?
we can do that.
What up, Kudo? Kudo 9898. Kudo Jimmy Kudo. Kudo, if you know who Jimmy Kudo is, I will give you credit. Don't use the internet. Don't use the internet. Be a person of honor, like Kudo would have been. Who is Jimmy Kudo? Or Shinji Kudo. I'm not opposed to you answering. I'm not opposed to you answering either one. What's up? Welcome to the stream. Me and Danny out here trying to make it work. So next step for us, I'm a beginner programmer, but this group is welcomes all levels and skills. Oh, you don't know Jimmy Kudo? Okay, just a quick lesson here in my nerdism. Jimmy Kudo is Conan Edogawa, who was a kid detective from Case Closed or Detective Boys. It's a anime. I loved it as a kid. There's like 2,000 episodes. I'll never finish it, but it lives in my heart. All right, back to the stream. All right. So we got the print pay rate. So okay. So before we go into that other tangent, let's at least finish the else statement, right? The else statement would push us back to okay, whatever the regular pay. And once we finish that part, it won't be hard for us just to take the overtime pay, since it's already a variable that's been defined, to then just add it to the regular pay. Am I thinking about that in the right way?
Yeah, I think that your approach will work. The one thing that so if you try to do the total calculation afterwards, like at the very end, are you imagining that each so like you have the if and the else? Are you imagining that each one is going to spit out the total, like
No,
each case?
I'm imagining that this is strictly if works. If works is only going to give me the overtime pay. So then I would then want to have an addition where it would continue to figure out what the actual pay was before overtime, so I can add them together so I know what my overtime is plus my regular pay.
Okay. Are you going to do this addition outside of the if else statement?
And I don't know if that, I don't at this point I would yield to a recommendation.
Okay, you can. The one thing I would caution you against is if you do that, make sure that you define overtime and set it, or overtime pay and set it to 0 in the else statement. Because what's going to happen is, say you worked 20 hours at $1 an hour, your if else statement is going to jump to the else. So your pay rate is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be the 20 hours times the $1 an hour, um, 20 bucks. But if you try to add overtime pay to that as well, it's going to say, I don't know what overtime pay is, because
Oh,
overtime pay was never defined in the
fine.
else statement.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Okay.
what you yeah,
I
your
see what
two
you're saying.
options here are, number one, you can have one variable that represents total pay,
Mm-hmm.
and you can set that in the if, and you can set it in the else. And the way you calculate it will be different for each one, but the end result is you still have a total pay variable. You
All right.
can
So
do the addition outside of the if else statement, but you'll need to define overtime pay in the else as well.
okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
Python's going to say, I don't know what this is.
Okay, yeah, and this is where the whole being super literal with it. Yeah, Kudo. Sorry, like I don't. Sorry to rain on that parade. Like, they're like Southerner and Danny. They're super good at programming. So if you stick around, I have a Discord you can hop in. We're always talking about stuff. But I'm super new to it. So like, I take a very elementary approach. I ask tons of questions. So if you're looking for something a little bit more advanced, you could probably come back in like 2 weeks because I learned all of this in 3 days. But in 2 weeks, I don't know. I don't know like how much better I'll become, but I got this far. But I appreciate you coming through for sure, for sure. All right, so then let's deal with the else statement. And just move on from there. Because so we got the program to run the way we wanted to. So let's just go ahead and move on with the else statement. Let's do the basics first, then we can add the questions, what if type situation, right?
Yep, sounds good. While you're doing that, I gotta step away for a little bit. Little guy's screaming again.
Hey, go get him, go get him. I'm gonna be in here. All right, party people. So we got to take care of the else statement now. Look at you guys being flattering over here. You guys are adorable. And Danny wasn't even here to hear that.
I heard what you said about me a few days ago, yeah.
I heard what you said about me a few days ago, yeah. I print pay rate. And the pay rate, do we have anything that has pay? We don't have pay rate is. Oh no, we're just telling it to print pay rate. All right. Oh, this is why pay rate was important actually. Because we need it for the else statement. Because how else will we define it? So pay rate. Whoops. Pay rate equals. We can just use. Wait. Yeah, let's just copy it and bring it back over. I don't think my Discord tab is set up for this one. This isn't my prominent channel, but I can get that for you in 30 seconds. I haven't set up a lot of the widgets for this channel. This wasn't. No, he's. You know what, Southerner? I've talked to him already. I've talked to him. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. And I take lungs out of people's bodies for a living. He's brilliant. But don't discount yourself. I won't allow it. I won't allow it. All right, that's the Discord for you, Kudo. I'll definitely be upgrading this channel so that I can have everything, all my command prompts and everything set up. Hey, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. All right, so like it should just print pay rate, and this is it, and that should be the end of this statement. And then it should just say print, no parentheses, no parentheses, but no quotation marks. Print pay rate tab. All right, let's run it. If this works, Danny's gonna be so proud. So let's make it 39. Shit, it didn't work. All right, back to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board. back to the drawing board. Why didn't it work though? Oh, maybe I should use this one.
All right, I'm back.
Hey, what up? I was challenging myself to try and figure this out before you got back, but it didn't work. So, so I was like, I've disappointed you. what
Not at all,
fuck?
man.
What the fuck?
Not at all.
What? I was like,
Hey,
damn it, why didn't it work?
Let me tell you, I'm totally happy to just sit here and answer questions if you have them too. Like, I think that's probably one of the best ways to learn is you just try things and see how they're working or not working, and then, rather than getting yourself stuck and then just hunting around online trying to figure it out, I'd be happy to step in at that point if you want.
Well, no. If the young one's doing all right, man, whatever you can offer. I just want. Okay, so I'm gonna break down what I did. Let me get rid of this screen real quick so you guys can see this is in its entirety. So I'm not like stealing. Is the young one all right though?
He'll live. He's got to cry it out a little bit. He'll be fine.
You gotta take some L's, young one. You gotta take some L's. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, we gave him Tylenol. It's about as much as we can do for him right now.
Yeah, it sucks.
Cooling teeth ring. Actually, that's a really good idea, Southern. We have that, but I don't think I've given it to him. I should try that. It's good. That's a good suggestion.
Okay, so I'm just spacing out the stream so you guys can see this a lot easier because the code has gotten longer today. We started off with hello world, very simple, and now we out here putting what is this? What's going on? Oh, I just need to move it down.
Okay. Oh, you hashed out the else statement, is what it looks like.
So yes, I tried to hash out the else statement, but before I ask for help, I'm going to try something else. Like I think I can remove this because I know this worked last time. So I'm going to blank this one back out. I'm going to blank this one back out, but I'm going to bring the one before it back. Oh wait, but pay rate hasn't been defined. Oh wait, I have to bring them both back. That's why. Oh, silky. Let's see. Wait, hold on. This should work then. Yeah, this should work. Hold on, let me try it out now. What did I erase in the beginning? It should work because it runs top to bottom. So let's hit Control S. Let's give it a whirl. Let's go 41. Ah! Hold on, but wait. Let's try it one more time. Let's say 39. Let's say 1. Oh! We in there. All right. I needed them both. We got it. We did it. Clap it up. Drop a bomb. All right. All right. All right. All right. So let's check this, see if the logic makes sense now. The question, oh wow. Okay, it wasn't really a kudo for the question is just we wanted to make a calculator to calculate someone's pay rate, and it wasn't really a question. I took the question from here. Oh, I guess you would want the exercise. So the exercise comes from here. But I'm watching this. This is based off of a YouTube video. So I just saw the question on the YouTube video, and then we just brought it into group. So it's off of this thing right here, but I can send you the question. Here's the question. It's in the YouTube video. Sorry, I didn't even think about that. My bad, Kudo. But it's from the question. But the question basically was asking me, and this works in its entirety right now. This is a complete program that works all on its own. And what we basically were doing was, the question was posed, how would I calculate someone's pay rate? And I got to this point. right here. This was everything. That was the first question. How would I calculate someone's pay rate? And it gave me, and this is how I did it. First, I had to make a variable that was defined, give it an input, and then also write the input so that the user would know what to write. Same thing for cash. Now, I use very blunt variables, as you can see. Hour, cash. I can see someone putting HR and rate for those two things, but like because I'm so new, I have to type everything out so that if when I am lost, if and when I get lost, I know where to go. Now, the first issue that I made, the first mistake that I made was when I went to define hour, I just assumed that it would give me a digit, but how does the program know that? How does Python know that? You have to be very literal. So I know for a fact I need an integer, not a word or anything. I need an integer there. So you put float in front of hour, and it knows that it's going to convert it into a number at least. If you don't give it a number, it definitely won't work. Same thing for cash. Now that we have all of our inputs defined, we take pay rate equals to the float hours times float cash, because float time money times cash, or money times time, gives you your pay rate. And then I just needed it to be printed out. Total print pay rate. Now, Danny has a super cool way of writing this with an F. What do you call that? What is it called when you write it with an F?
I just call it an F string. It's just a way to do formatting of the output where it takes less lines or less characters, I guess.
So it's more
to
it's
do it.
more of an aesthetic and a finesse, like not really a finesse, but like something you would do as a better programmer, like someone who understands what they're doing. It.
Also, I just want to hop in. You had a great explanation. The only point of clarification I want to make
Sure.
is that the data type int or integer
Mm-hmm.
represents a whole number, and the data type float stands for floating point, and that's like any kind of decimal, like pi, 3.1415926, whatever. That's all, floating point because there's a
So,
decimal point.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So if I
So
wanted to,
integers actually wouldn't work here because if you get paid $1.20 an hour, then if you put that in and treated it as an integer, Python would just say, okay, it's a buck.
oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
uh,
like if you change the floats up at
to
the top,
to
I think in lines
int.
3 and 4 to int, and then tried running it with like 67 hours and $1.20 an hour or something like that, you would
Mm-hmm.
get that exact amount of pay. It would be yeah, it just it wouldn't calculate it
It
correctly. So
wouldn't
that's one
calculate it.
point of
Okay,
clarification.
okay, okay, okay. So, well, there would be times where you just want fully whole numbers, so I guess there's no point in like fighting that. No, okay, that makes a
Yeah,
lot more
it,
sense.
it might it might work for hours if there's like a policy in place where you can only work an even number of hours and you can't work like 6.5 hours. You can only work 6 or 7 hours. That might work for an integer.
Okay, Kudo seems to have a super smooth one too. Okay, okay. So Kudo, what do you like? How long have you been coding, Kudo? Like, where's your skill set at? All right, all right. So then, okay, then let's take this now. Let's take this to its ultimate crescendo for me. What I then wanted to do is say, like, okay, um, so now that I have this part done, right? So I go to my first if statement. Now, the one thing that I remember them talking about is an if statement causes an automatic indentation, and it's usually four spaces that notify it. The indentation text falls under the if. So if the if is skipped, everything that's indented under that if will be skipped as well. With that being said, if we work over 40 hours, the if statement will go into play and then it'll plan itself out. There was things that I had to define. So I use print overtime just so I have a point of reference, like something to tell me, like, yo, this is where the overtime is going to be. The overtime underscore hours defined, but it's not an input. We just use this as a defining feature, and we set it up to be. So yeah, that's a great question. Why come overtime underscore hour isn't an input?
Overtime hour, why is that not an input, you're
Yeah.
saying? It could be. But you're able to do the math, and so that would be one less thing the user would have to input. Instead of saying how many hours did you work and you put in 100, you would then have to say how many normal hours did you work, 40, how many overtime hours did you work, 60. It's just a little bit more work on the input side, but you
Input
could make it an
Okay.
input,
All
certainly.
right. So okay. All right. I'm not. Okay. I'm not gonna poke the bear. I'm not gonna poke the bear. But from that point, then I got rid of my pay rate because we won't need that in this setting. Then we went to overtime pay where we set up another situation where we then calculated. This is how the overtime pay was going to be calculated. Overtime pay had to be overtime pay was defined, and the point we got stuck here is I used overtime pay to try and define overtime pay, and that's where I kept getting stuck. I had to use overtime hour, which was the line before it, in its place, times cash times 1.5. And then we use print, and this was the part where I also had the quotation marks in there because the quotation marks is just something that I've used 3 times, but to actually get the integer or the number to present, I need to put that. So how does it know that this is going to be a number? Because there's nothing like
So
there was no integer
when
or no
you
float.
when you say what overtime pay, how does
Yes.
it know it that? Oh, okay. So overtime pay is a float because you're taking a float and multiplying it by a float and another float. So if you do float times float times float, then the result is automatically going to be a float. Python.
Okay, because it's multiplying it because it's 2 floats already, so it's just assuming like it has to be a float. There's no way
Exactly.
around it.
Yeah, in a lot of other programming languages, when you define a variable, you have to specify the data type for that variable. So in other programming languages, you would have to say overtime pay is a float, and then overtime pay equals this. In Python,
It just knows.
everything's very shorthand. And so
Okay.
it does a lot of this stuff kind of intelligently under the surface. But the downside to that is sometimes it'll do things that you don't expect. And so you got to be careful. It's a double-edged sword. It's generally nice to have, but you learn the intricacies of it, and there are some things that don't work the way you might think they work. So you got to be careful, especially with like integers and the way they round.
Definitely. Okay, so we got it to all run and everything, and then obviously the else statement is just the original statement run all over again, which would have been the top part before we introduced the if statement. So it was just bypass it. So this is pretty cool. The question is, can I rebuild this just from using context? And I feel like him drawing those maps did come in handy, but let's take a quick look at his because we'll let him finish up his video actually, because while I was kind of pissed off, he changed this. That was just the one thing that messed me up. Like he changed his variables mid calculation. Like I don't know, that comes off as like,
do this in here. So if I say the number of hours that you've worked, FH minus 40.0, that is the number of hours above 40. So if this is 50, then the FH minus 40 is going to be 10. And then I'm going to multiply that times the rate, FR, except you get 1.5 times, right? So your overtime pay is the excess hours times 1.5 times the rate. Actually, no. I see I made a mistake already. The extra overtime pay, because you're going to get all your regular pay, so the 50% or the half is the extra. And see, I'm confused, so I'm just going to print out reg, comma, OTP. And if those numbers are right, I can do XP, which is the pay, is equal to reg plus OTP. See, my program is always, I have to make it a little smaller.
Are you seeing this? He is like he's like he's definitely showing his age in this situation, because like the regular XP, what did I have? So yeah, he added an extra step, and he's actually shortchanging. He's shortchanging them people. Will he catch this mistake? Is it like, or like, now I'm curious to know if he will be right.
So you can see the whole thing, right? So I think I got this right.
And then we'll go to the second exercise.
I figured out the regular hours, which is giving you the base rate for all 50 hours or 45 hours or whatever, figuring out the excess hours, and this is the bonus amount. There's lots of different ways that you can calculate this. But in general, we have an if statement on this side, and this else is the easy one, and that's 40 hours or less. So if we're doing greater than 40. So I just hit Command S to save it. And so let me clear my screen with Command K. So I'm going to do 10 hours at $10 an hour, and that's a regular calculation, and it's $100. And so if I do 50 hours at $10 an hour, so my regular pay was 50 times 10, and then the excess pay is $5 an hour times the extra 10 hours, which is $50, and so my pay is $550. And so it looks like I've got this calculation right. And so...
wait, so Danny, are you seeing this?
No, sir. I'm doing some work on another monitor, but I'll take a look.
No, I was just... Welcome back. Okay, so on his screen, he got it to calculate. So yeah, I just pushed it back a little bit. He got it to calculate out total.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, his code's a little bit hard to read because he makes the variables so short, but looking at it a little bit longer, it does look like he's calculating the total in both the if and the else. And then at the very end, he's just printing that total.
Oh.
So, okay, yeah, so basically what he's doing in the else statement, so XP, which I'm not sure what he wanted that total
regular,
pay, maybe?
It's the regular
total pay
plus the overtime.
Is that a plus or a multiply? It looks like a multiply. It looks like he's just multiplying the float version of the hours times the float version of the rate.
Yes.
So that's just like a pretty simple total equals rate times time for the else case. And then in the case where there's overtime, he's basically just calculating the, oh, that's interesting. FR times FH. Could you, wait, no, I can't see his total code because he's got the terminal up, but
let me see if I can get him to get the terminal out of the way.
I'm not sure what line 8 is doing there quite just yet.
Line 8 is just regular equals FR times FH. That's it.
Right, but
okay, so
where I'm confused is say he worked like 80 hours. That would just be regular equals 80 hours times the regular pay. Oh, I see what he's doing. Okay. Yeah, that's just another way you can do the calculation, I guess. Maybe slightly harder to understand, I think. I kind of liked our approach where we calculate like overtime pay is a separate pay and then just add the two together. It seems more understandable.
And I can literally write a code right now saying, and this is, I guess, the part that I wanted to ask you about is if I took the code as is and was like, okay, I now have the overtime pay and I now have the regular pay. Oh, I see. No, as I'm thinking about it, I'm literally figuring out the issue. Because it's a if or else statement, so I don't get a second chance. It's done once it's done.
That's right.
Damn.
But
That hit me like a ton of
so
bricks right there. Damn. Okay. Shit. All right. He got me.
I think the key now is how you calculate your regular pay in each case.
Yeah. But he's managed to work it in to this. He has an extra line, and it's just that. He has an extra line here, so it's just like interesting to see how. Now I want to like, okay, so maybe I'm gonna take it from the top, and we'll try and get it like to make sense here. Because the only thing I'm missing from mine versus his is he has a.
Are you looking at his line 9?
Yes. No, I'm looking at his line 11.
Oh, where he adds his total is the regular pay plus the overtime pay?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking if I can figure out how to add that to my overtime, then I can also have the same result as him.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's just
Although I do think there is one slight other adjustment you're going to need to make, which is in the case of overtime, the way you calculate regular pay. So he calculates regular pay the same way in both cases. It's just rate times time. The way we have it set up, you can't do that, because if someone says they worked 80 hours and they're making $1 an hour, then the regular pay is rate times time. 80 hours times $1 an hour, that's $80 total. But then we calculate overtime pay, which would be 40 hours times 1.5, which would be $60, and then we'd add them two together, but that would be too much. And so what we have to do is, in the case of overtime, the regular pay is just 40 hours times the rate, times the pay rate. Does that make sense?
Hell no.
So like,
the honesty.
This is the kind of thing where it's like, if you were to just do it on paper, it'd take you like 2 seconds.
Yes.
But in the context of programming, it's like, this doesn't make any sense. So you could just do it on paper, and then whatever you're doing on paper, you could just like tell the programming language to you could just implement that in the programming language. So that's usually what I do in cases like this. But basically what I'm thinking is, I'm imagining two piles of money. One is regular pay, and the other one is overtime pay.
And yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So
yeah,
because you already know the limit of what you're gonna get. You worked 80 hours, or you worked 80 hours, or you worked 40 hours times 1, so you know you got $40. Period. But when you calculate this, you automatically, okay, I see what you're saying. In your mind, it makes perfect sense. You don't need this step. You don't need this extra step, because you already know it's just $40. So if whatever it tells you, if it tells you 65, all right, cool. He's got 105. Next.
You got it. Yep.
Okay. All right. I can live with that. I can definitely live with that. Clap it up. We can live with that.
Damn.
Drop a bomb, too. Let them know. All right, let's go to the next exercise, y'all. Let's get to the next exercise. We are going to... We got to restore this. We was using it zoomed in, but now that we're done with that, we can go in there. And like I said, I'm in the Code Academy, the free code camp. Wait a second, is that a Green Bay Packer logo? Okay, one Southerner, I'm gonna need you to watch your disrespectful tone. As a Chicago native, you'll never see me rock anything from Green Bay. Don't let the lights confuse you. As a Southerner, as a Southerner, you should know the Georgia Bulldogs symbol was lifted by those scoundrels known as Green Bay Packers. And I'll now proceed to get off my soapbox.
Apology accepted.
I accept your apology. I accept your apology. The disrespect knows no bounds. All right, cool. All right, let's get this back so we can start off with the next one. Let's start off with the next one. All right, cool. All right, so the second exercise. I always do this and I hate it because...
Hello, welcome to...
Relax. Only place I know. Okay.
Python for Everybody. I'm Charles Severance, your instructor.
I didn't even watch the lesson. I just went straight to the exercise. So, because there's something about.
Hello, welcome to Python for Everybody. I'm Charles Severance, your instructor. And in this short video, we're going to do exercise 3.2, which is really just a rewrite of exercise 3.1. We're going to deal with some error conditions using try and except. So let's go ahead and get started, but this is a good example of something where you want to start with the previous.
We're going to do try and accept. Oh, and he's saying we're going to need the previous code to do it. Okay. So maybe I will listen to the lesson. Let's listen to the lesson first. All right. Yeah. Ain't no point in us like over here trying to pull punches and stuff. Let's just go ahead and listen to the lesson. Thanks to y'all yesterday. Can we clap it up for y'all real quick? Thanks to y'all yesterday. I took my channel viewing status from like 1.4 to a humbling 2.2. So I'm well on my way to that three consistent viewers, and then we can get this channel affiliated. Major milestones. I never planned for this channel to be affiliated. All I planned to do on this channel was just have a good time. But who says you can't have a good time and steal money from Jeff Bezos?
So welcome back. Let's talk a little bit more about some more complex conditional statements that sort of build on this concept of if and if then else. The first thing we're going to look at is the multi-way branch. And so the idea is it's kind of like the if then else where you're going to pick one of two, but now we can pick one of three or one of four or one of five. And it introduces a new concept called the LF. The LF is another reserved word inside Python. And the way it works is it's probably best to look at this here where it checks the first one, and if it's a true, then it runs that, and then it's done. It doesn't check them all. It's not like it sees that there are two logical conditions. It actually checks them, the first one, and how you order these matters, as we'll see in a bit. And so if the first one is true, it runs. If the first one is false and the second one is true, it runs this one and it's done. And if the neither of them are true, it falls through and there's an else clause that is otherwise, and it runs that. So basically, it's either going to run one and then skip the other two, or it is going to
I'm sitting here right now. Hey, verbatim, these are my notes. Elf, new multi-way, similar to if and else. Figure out what the differential is of it. Like, I don't know if he knows. Like, he's talking to new people, and he says Python for Everybody course.
I think you might forget sometimes, but yeah, LF is just shorthand for else if.
Okay.
So if else. So that's when you have cases where it's not one thing and it's not the other thing. It might be one of a few things. So there's some like intermediate options there.
Shorthand. All right. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, my guy. But beggars can't be choosers in this situation, so we push forward.
Skip skip 1, skip 2, and then run this one. But it only runs, in this case, one of them. But the important thing is it checks these questions in order. And it doesn't check the second question until it finds that the first, it doesn't check the second question until it knows the first question is false. So if the first question is true, you're done. You're done, and you're done with this. You're done with the whole block at that point. So only one of these three is going to execute in that block. So here's sort of some examples of this. If we, for example, have x equals 0, it's going to come down here. X is less than true. That's true. So it runs this code, and then it skips down to that. And so it's like this, runs that code, and then skips to the end. Okay. On the other hand, if it's 5, then this is false, and it skips that, and it checks this. This is true. It runs this code, and then it's done, skips to the end. It goes like false, true, run, end. And then if x is like 20, for example, it runs, false, false, run the else clause, and you're done. So skip, oh, else, run that code, and you're done. So in this case, we ran that, and we didn't run that, and we didn't run that. Again, one of them's going to run. They're checked in order. These questions are checked in order, not out of order. It doesn't look ahead. It just checks in the order that you wrote it. You're the one that wrote that order. And so there's a couple of variations on this multi-way. You can have no else. You can have no else, as in this case. And this just means that it might not run any of them. In this case, x is 5, so it's not less than 2, but then it runs this one. But if x was like 50, for example, if x was 50, then this would be false.
But you might not be wrong,
then it would skip, and this would still be false, and it would skip. And neither of these two would run. So if you don't have an else, you're not guaranteed that one of them is going to run, because else is like the catch-all. If the other ones are all false, then the else is the one that runs. Similarly, you can have many LFs, but this is where it's really important for you to make sure you know what order they're being taken in. So I've got, this, if this is true, it runs, it goes all the way to the bottom. If, this was, if it's false, 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 true, it runs this one and it's done. If, on the other hand, it looks at it as false, oops, go back. If it runs false, 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 they're all false, then it runs the else. Right? This one has an else, this one didn't have an else. They don't have to have them. The key is you can have more than one of these LFs. Okay? So I got a couple little things. I'll let you pause right now and look at, the question is, are there, looking at the 3 lines or 4 lines of code, x equals something. Are there lines of code that will never execute regardless of the value for x? And I'll let you pause. Look at, the question is, are there, looking at the 3 lines or 4 lines of code, x equals something. Are there lines of code that will never execute regardless of the value for x? And I'll let you.
Okay. I love how, it's not really math, but it is math. It's like problem solving. Just now, he took a drink of his coffee. How far behind am I? Oh, man. Oh, yeah, you're behind. Yeah, because I remember when he drank that coffee. Hey, man, Kudo, don't be laughing at my situation. This computer has been through hell, heaven, and waters to make it this far. This was my first PC I ever got. I made an attempt to try and add onto it, and I completely destroyed it. And then I just ordered another one, but the case, when I moved, cracked. So this case is back. So this computer has been holding it down. My goal is to try and upgrade it this year. I have a lot of goals, but it is doing the job right now. But I'm not even going to stunt, Southerner. I know my internet, my computer is begging for a nap, because on upload days, I upload like 15 videos to YouTube, and it's rendering nonstop. So I know it's looking for a break, but let's see. The question is there any situation where if X is put in one of these 4, any of these actually. So I see 5 here, 3 here. So in any of these 8 situations, if x was any number, it wouldn't work. Old Faithful, Ironhide has come through for me in multiple occasions, man. If I lost Ironhide, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably try and teach code to a tiger. Um. Okay, so multiple weights puzzle. If x, so if okay, let's just take it from left to right. If x is less than 2, print below 2. Is elf is or if else statement, print 2 or more. Else if it's equal to 2. If x is greater than 2, nah, my computer is called my desktop is called. She's a beast. Ironhide. She gets the job done. All right. So like there's a part of me that wants to plug this into an equation. um I don't see a scenario where so like because I'm kind of getting muddled here. Like, okay, this first statement makes sense to me. X, let's just call x something. Let's call x 0. So x is less than 0. Print below 2. Else if x is greater than 20. X is less than 20. So print below 20. Cool. If else if x is still below 10, it's still less than, so print. So in this situation, okay, so we know 0 works. So then let's try an ultimate, like 100. If it was 100, would this work? If x was 100, no, this print below. So this wouldn't work automatically. So I think the answer is yes. There are certain situations where no matter what x is, x can only be certain integers or certain float numbers.
You pause and think
Yeah,
about
this
it.
example
And
is
then I'll
kind of
explain it.
confusing. It's probably
Okay.
not the best example of using an if or else if, because this also relies on another principle where you have kind of a priority system
Mm-hmm.
where so in an if else statement, whenever this gets compiled or run,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen is the very first expression that is evaluated as true is the one that will be taken.
Mm.
And so in the case where x equals 1, then the first one would hit. It's less than.
Yes.
If x is equal to, then that doesn't count for the first one because that only says if x is less than 2. If x is equal to 2, then the second one would hit. It's less than 20. But that's interesting because the third one would not hit. So basically the third one, I don't think the third one will ever hit, will it?
No, it won't. So like,
yeah, I don't think it will.
Yeah.
That's a dumb example.
So like that's why I was like, okay, so my logic wasn't too far off. Like I'm very clearly seeing the way you have to think about this, because the example I used, I had to use 2 examples to prove the answer wrong, at least in one situation. But you were able to discern using the same process over and over and over again, like the computer would. It would just keep repeating itself.
Yeah, the computer's just going to go top to bottom and it's going to evaluate and say, okay, I'm running this code now. I know what x is. Is x less than 2? No, move on to the next one. Is x less than 20? No, move on to the next one. Is x less than 10? No, move on to the next one. So it must be else, right? Or it's going to land somewhere in between. If he really wanted to do it properly, it should go x is less than 2, x is less than 10, x is less than 20 in that order. But I would argue that if you were going to do this, there's a much better way that you can make it more readable. And I can type it in the chat too. So the first one.
Don't worry. Next week, but by this time next week, y'all, we're gonna have we're gonna get Danny a whiteboard so he can write on my screen, and we'll just be sharing the screen. That's it. All right. X2.
So I just typed it in the chat, but that's how I would do it if I wanted to catch those cases. And so you're kind of doing two separate things there.
Yeah.
Which may be a little bit confusing. So the example of like 2 is less than or equal to x is less than 10 is basically the same thing as saying you could do if, I guess this would be an else if. So elif x is greater than or equal to 2 and x is less than 10. That's another way you can type that. So in if and elif statements, you can do things like and or, and that's very powerful as well. So sometimes you want to trigger condition if one thing or another thing is true, or if this thing and this other thing are both true, or something to those.
So this kind of solves the problem of if two things are true but at different times, you can then put the word and to make sure that the right thing is being selected at the right time, at a different time rather.
Sure. Yeah, okay. If you want an output to be triggered by two separate inputs that are each controlled independently, then you would do and. Yeah, you'd say if this and this, then do this, the other thing.
Okay. And Southerner, you're right. I am skipping some frames. I'm looking at my data now. I'm like down. I'm checking. I think yeah, it's nighty night for this Iron Height. Okay, so we'll push on with this example, but I appreciate you coming on because I knew something was amiss, but I just wish there was a certain level of I don't even know how to say this because he's from a he's teaching for a prestigious college actually, like Michigan. I don't know. I just figured like I never assume when I'm teaching somebody. I always assume that they are literally as dumb as a rock, and that's not an insult because I was the rock. Like.
And there's also a flip side to that too, right? Where you should never assume that the thing you're being taught is 100% correct. Also, yeah.
Ooh.
Lessons to be learned both ways.
Clap that. God dang. He might be the professor, but he's not the teacher. Damn.
Yeah, man, that goes for me, for anything I say as well, especially things I say. Please double check them.
But the thing about it is we get a real time, like we get to experience it in real time. And that's what we're really here to do. So, hey,
it doesn't matter who we are.
Doesn't.
What matters is our plan.
Yeah, and the plan here is to get better, so we're going to keep going. All right. Let's hear his explanation for it.
Hopefully you paused and thought about it as long as you like, so let me now explain it to you. So we come in here, and if x is less than or equal to 2, it's going to run this first thing, and if x is greater than or equal to 2, it's going to run this, and if neither of those are true, then it's going to run this. Well, the weird thing is, all numbers are either less than 2 or greater than or equal to 2. I carefully constructed this to the point where it would never run this line of code. It is either going to run this one or run that one, but it's not going to ever run this one. So that was kind of like a weird dysfunctional one that I constructed. This other one is a little different. If x is less than 2, we do this. If x is less than 20, we do that. If x is less than 10, we do that. And if none of those are true, we do that. Well, the problem here is between these two lines. The problem is if something's less than 10, like 6, for example, it's also less than 20. So even though there might be values for which this is true, those also are going to have this true. So for something like 6, it's going to run here, and it's not even going to look at this. That's the point. It doesn't even look at this. And so I could have made this more sensible if I'd have moved this little block of code up to there. So this is where the order in which you choose your questions, the way you put these LFs together matters because it doesn't look at all of them. It only looks as long as it can. As long as it sees falses, then it keeps on going to the next one. But as soon as it doesn't see a false, it doesn't continue. So the last conditional structure we'll talk about is the try and except structure. And if you know any other languages like C++ or Java or JavaScript, you're like, whoa, that's kind of an advanced concept. But it turns out in Python, because of Python's propensity to throw tracebacks in situations where you kind of would like to recover, it turns out you kind of have to use it a little more and a little earlier in your programming skill. So the problem is what if there is a line of code and you absolutely know it's going to make a traceback, it's going to blow up, but you don't want to blow up. I mean, I don't want to have code blow up. If you're using my autograder and you see a traceback in my autograder, that's kind of like I consider that a failure. I could put an error like, hey, you entered blank data or you didn't enter a number, but a traceback, that just seems like I'm too lazy as a programmer. So we as programmers are supposed to anticipate parts of our code that are going to blow up potentially based on perhaps the user's input and then do something about it. And that's what the try and except are for. It's you take this little dangerous piece of code that might break and might blow up, and you surround it with a try and says this might blow up, and if it fails, run this code down here. Okay, so that's the try, and if you get an exception, the except is kind of like if you get an exception. And the problem is if you are running code, here's a little bit of code, we put hello Bob in, and then we convert it to an integer, and we know from past experience that this blows up. Right? You can't take hello Bob and convert it to an integer. It's just going to blow up. The problem is, and here we are. It says, oh, you blew up on line 2. That's great. And I'm not very happy with hello Bob and whatever. But the important thing is your program stops. These other lines, they don't, these other lines, they don't exist. Right? It doesn't go any further. Remember the traceback is Python is really confused and I don't know what to do next. So Python is just going to be conservative and stop. So Python stops and your program stops. No matter how much error checking you put down here, it doesn't matter because it's gone. It's all gone. And like I said, we take this kind of personally because the code that you write is like you being put into the computer, giving it instructions.
It's my baby.
If the code blows up, well, that sort of wipes you out. You're not in the game anymore. You're not able to do anything. So we want to be able to, especially in these situations where
we can definitely try that try-catch.
An error that might happen in the normal course of your program's execution might be something that you want to compensate for, and that's what the try and except does. So here's a bit of code for the try and except, and we just have two little bits of straight line code, and so we put a string in here that's hello Bob, and then we're going to convert it to an integer. This is the dangerous code. This code in this case with hello Bob is going to do a traceback.
Hey, relax, my guy. What you're telling me is that the try and accept rule is used for the inputter. It's so that the inputter can't break my code.
That's a very common thing it's used for, but it can be used just about anywhere. Like if you're going to bring in I guess it would also be input if you're bringing it from a file or from a database or something. But any kind of thing that you're not 100% sure that it is going to be what you're expecting it to be, it's a good idea to wrap it in a try catch or try except. And basically what that means is you're going to say, okay, try converting this to a float, and the accept would be you print out a message saying, hey, you didn't enter a valid number for this.
So it keeps the code running, and it won't stop your code. So, okay, go ahead, because I think you're about to answer my question.
You could make it stop the code if you wanted to.
Okay.
Like you can typically in a try, so like typically in an accept, you would raise an error, and an error would stop the code and print out an error message saying, "Hey, you put in something wrong here." But you can keep running the code. Yeah, you don't have to stop it.
Hey, Southern, take care of the young one, man. No worries. We'll be back on tomorrow. Hey, Icon, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm making my way down the coding path. I got my boy Danny helping me out. I'm super excited. I'm gonna implement the a touch screen so Danny can actually write on my code. So Danny can actually write our code. We gonna get him a whiteboard. But it's good to see you doing all right. Icon has a great channel. You guys definitely check him out. All right, we're gonna let the professor finish because Danny dropped the bomb on us, told us that he might be the professor, he ain't the teacher though.
Oh yeah!
Fucking snap it to a Slim Jim, motherfucker. That's great. All right, let's go.
And so we say try, and then we indent the dangerous code, and then we add this little accept bit. If it works, the accept is ignored. If this blows up, it runs the accept. So in this code, it's going to come in, it's going to try this. This is going to blow up. But instead of giving a traceback, it's going to say, "Ooh, I've got an available accept. I'm going to run this accept code, and then I'm going to continue on." And so that prints out first -1. So because we set this variable Eister to -1, like a little flag telling us that something went wrong. And then we keep on going, and now we have put in 1, 2, 3, the digits 123, the digits 1, 2, 3, and now it's going to work, but we still have it in a try block, and then this one works, it does not blow up, and then it ignores the accept block. So the accept block is only triggered when something goes wrong in the code. It is ignored if something doesn't go wrong. So it's like you bought an insurance policy on this line of code, and when things go wrong, your accept block springs into action and does whatever it is that you want it to do in the case of an error. Okay, so that's a pretty useful thing. You got to be a little bit careful that you don't overuse it, because if you put more than one line inside the try part and one of the lines blows up, it doesn't come back to the try block. And so in this one here, we have kind of a simple, silly one where we set the string. We're worried about some stuff. Well, the print statement's never going to blow up, so it's a bad idea to put it in try except anyways.
That would be dope as
Then
fuck,
we do this
though.
conversion, and that's the dangerous part. And in this one, it's going to blow up. And so then it's going to go to the accept block and then run the accept block and then continue.
Discord.
What it does not do, what it doesn't do is somehow go back and finish this. So these lines are gone. So if you look at it like this works. The try starts. Hello. This blows up. It goes to the accept. It runs the accept, and it continues on. Never runs that code. So it's not like you took out an insurance on the whole block. Any of those lines can blow up in the block, but whichever line blows up, that is the last line that's executing in that block. Okay? So you tend to want, in this particular example, you would probably, the print statement would go out there, and this print statement would come down here, and you would only put in your try block the single line of code that you think might blow up, because you kind of know print statements aren't going to blow up. So this is an example that's a more common real-world example where the user is going to type some data. And it's users that get us in trouble. So our program starts by asking the user to enter a number, and we know that this could be dangerous. So we're going to do it. We're going to put the conversion from string to integer in a try block, and we're going to set -1 if that's a failure. And then if it's greater than 0, we'll say nice work, and if it's less than 0, well, not a number. So first time we run this program, out comes enter a number. We type in 42, which is a string. That 42 goes back into roster, runs in here. This runs. It's fine. That becomes a 42 number, so we skip the except block, and ival is greater than 0. We print out nice work, and we skip the else. Okay? So it says nice work. On the other hand, if we run it again, this time, the input says enter a number, and we're silly. We enter the word 42, but in words, 40, F-O-U-R-T-Y. So that's a string, and that goes into raw stir. And then the execution continues. We run in here, and now this is going to blow up. That's going to blow up. Normally, we would see a traceback right there. There'd be a traceback. But we're not going to, because we put this calculation in a try and accept block. It's going to immediately run the accept block, set ival to -1, continue on with the program. See, you are not blown up at this point. And if I val is greater than 0, well, it's -1, so we're going to hit the else clause and print out not a number. So we've done error detection. The user set something that caused a line of our code to kind of blow up, but we put that line in a try and except block, and so we caught it, and so we dealt with that fact. So in summary, in this, we talked about if statements, we talked about else, we talked about try and except, how important indentation is to mark blocks where they begin and the end, and an else if and try except. So up next, we're going to talk about loops and iteration.
All right, Doc. I respond and retake some of my abuse from earlier. So in order for us to do the next one, we gotta be able to. We actually need to make our code match his code because he's gonna be using his example. So I did, but I want to keep this code. So let's save file as a new, and then we'll take it back. Let's do that because I actually want to keep this code. So let's take the tab out. I don't think you guys need to see the terminal as much for this one. So okay, so just making sure it does work still. Huh? What? Oh, it actually pulled up the other one. I don't want this one. Yeah, use the one from yesterday. Alright, so we'll have to, let's just make a new one, right? And we'll name it something else. Printed circuit boards, hardware. Oh, oh man. Automation. I'll stick to web/software development. Don't cut yourself short. Let's do this. Let's print hello world. All right. So let's hit Control S on this. We're gonna put this, and we're gonna put this as. What was my example of the one? It was pay rate. Okay, so we're gonna put this as wage rate. Or actually, let's just call it overtime. Overtime dot py. All right. Didn't spell that right. Right. Hello world. Why is it showing up as red? It's not defined. There we go. Don't need it to be defined. Oh yeah, I do. Oh shit, that scared the hell out of me. What up, Codosaurus? Damn, say something. That scared the hell out of me. What up, Codosaurus? We having a good time right now. I'm a newbie. All right, cool. There we go. So let's just run this. Look, yeah, hey, Icon is good. Icon is really good. just let y'all. I'll let y'all have that. Y'all talking about stuff that's over my head. What's up, Codosaurus? Oh, it's without. Okay, cool. All right, let's run it and see if it works. I'm a super beginner. Like I'm like a week into this. But thanks for that, code source. The word I'm looking for is overtime pay. Overtime PY. Okay. It didn't print it out though. I thought I was supposed to print it out. It didn't print it. I wanted to print it. But I mean, I'm in the right place, so none of this matters actually. All right, so let's get back to the example at hand. The reason why we're doing this is because we're gonna have to use his program, his code. We need this, so and like let's just like try and make a mental note of this, because we need the print to be in certain places. We need the XP. The one thing my code line was missing was the XP part, and so I was missing 11 and 14. My code that I built just gives me the overtime period, and because I know the overtime already, and I know the hourly rate at 40, I just add those two together. But his combining gave everything at one shot, so I need to just have that in mind. He also has this at 0.5. His FR is the float SR, and SR is the rate. It should be time and a half. Okay, yeah. Oh wait, I don't know what you're saying, Codosaurus. Sorry. How do I? Oops. Oh yeah, you're right. I did forget to type Python.
40 hours.
You're right. Python overtime.py. There it is. Oh wait, I have a syntax error. Oh, because I didn't save it. I spelled it wrong. And I've already deleted it. This is horrible. All right, we don't need it, but we are on the right path. Icon, man, have a good night. Thanks for lurking. I appreciate you coming through the stream. Y'all definitely do go check out Icon. Great channel. So let's hit Control S. So thanks for that reminder. Codosaurus. So first and foremost, let me show y'all my code so y'all can critique that, because that is where we're going to be needing help. So let's first thing, we need to create an input for hours. So I'm gonna be kind of long-winded. I'm gonna keep it the same way. Hour equal input. Damn it. Why come every time I hit tab it doesn't input it? Just finish it out for me. What am I missing there? And then I needed to ask the question. The question is going to be I need to tell them to do something. Enter time. No, wait, enter hours. The tab autocomplete I use, yeah, but like it doesn't work all the time. I hit tab sometimes and it'll just give me in. Like here. Oops. I want that there. Let's go to the next one. We need this time we're gonna use rate because I think time was really messing me up. Rate and no capital letters here. Equals. So I'm about to type input, right? I want to hit tab right now, but it's just gonna fill in N. Okay. It'll work in my terminal, but it won't work here. Okay, I can live with that. Input, enter, enter rate. Okay. All right. So now I have these two things. I have variables that now have definitions and have a way of inputting them. I think you need some plugins on VS Code like Python. Oh, okay. Yeah, I installed that yesterday. Unless I don't know what I'm doing, which is quite possible. I wouldn't put it past me, you guys. I wouldn't put it past me. I wouldn't put it past me. No, man. Hey, it's all fun and games here. We are just a group of people excited to learn new skills. So let's continue. What am I looking for? Okay. All right. So, okay, the next thing I need to define is hours. Like, okay, I have an input for it. I have a rate for it. The input's there. So now I need to turn those inputs into actual numbers. And I remember we talked about the integer. If we use int and we got like a 0.25, it would just crash it. But if oh shit, check this out. Let me think about this. If I use the int and someone's put like 12.3, could I then say try? Nah. I have an idea, but I lost it. I'm gonna come back. I'll come back to it. So right now I need to write something that's gonna make it. So I'm gonna make this a float. So let's just make this F hour, float hours, right? And we're gonna call this a float. And it's gonna float for hours. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to call this float rate. What up? Ooh, leech hour? What? I want to say leecher. What up? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. I know, and like, this is that leech hour. That's something that's Danny's been teaching me, but like I'm new, so I'm only using what readily makes sense to me. Like I feel like that's something I will learn to do, but I'm like still learning the basics. But I appreciate that input for sure. But like I'm super new, so like I'm only basing it off of the examples. Danny's been yelling at me about this all day. If you don't goddamn use this shit, I'm coming for you.
Would you like to answer
you're
the
doing
question right
absolutely
at
the
this
right
particular
thing.
time? Would you like to
take
do
as
that?
many steps as you need where it makes sense,
No,
and then
for
after
sure.
you've done it enough times, then you can start doing the shorthand where you do like function calls in function calls, and you have one-liners.
Oh
And
yeah.
you'll get there
Oh,
sooner
yeah.
than you think, even too.
And pretty soon it's going to start pissing me off. Trust me. It's going to start pissing me off. I'm like, why the hell am I writing all this shit for? But for like the meantime and in between time, like I have to talk about it. Like that's why I'm talking to myself. Like I'm taking it step by step. But like I appreciate you. Like Lichara, I know it might be like very painful to watch me do this, but some people find it comical. And if you can get a laugh out of that,
It doesn't matter who we are.
yeah.
What matters is our plan.
And the plan is for you to get a laugh out of that shit. You feel me? Clap it up. Drop a bomb. My friend got me this Stream Deck. Worst decision of his life because I hit these motherfucking buttons all day. I will hit these buttons all day. All right, so now we're going float. Float rate. All right, cool. So now I have a way of getting the numbers to show up. You don't need parentheses. You don't need F.
Sorry, I was talking to Leecher. Yeah, I didn't mean to confuse you there.
Okay. All right, I'm pushing forward. I'm gonna mind my own damn business. Where we at? Okay, so I have this. So let's just run this first. Like, yeah. Let's just run this and see what happens. So let's hit up on this. No, not one. Hit up. That did not work. Am I spelling something wrong? Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't hit Control S. Gotta save it. All right, now let's try it again. All right, hours. Enter hours. All right, we're there. Do y'all care to see the terminal? Do y'all want to see the command prompts, or are y'all more worried about the visual? Because I'll get the command prompts back up on the screen, but I just be 100, and the rate is 100. Oh, I don't have a way of it showing me this, so let's get that part back. But it did bring up the enter hours and enter rate, so that part is right. Yeah, you're probably right. That'll probably be the best case scenario. It'll probably make it a lot aesthetically cheesy because I have a lot of black space, like in places that I normally wouldn't. I always like to have my screens like totally filled out or like totally decked out. But for the most part, like I usually keep everything like even on the art page, I have like a bunch of stuff in the background, but definitely would help. Definitely would help. Whoops. All right, cool. Where were we? All right, one rate. Okay. Whoops, I don't need a plus there. All right, so we're going down here. So I don't have to worry about this statement. So let's make the if statement now. Are you asking me that, Leech? I went to college, but I didn't go to college for this. I went to college to cut people open. All right, so let's make the if statement. If F hour, what do I want? If F hour is greater than 40, then what? Okay, if it is greater than 40, then it should what's the next step? If it's greater than 40, what would happen? It would tell me it's greater than 40. So I need to like print? Print? Oh, Danny, you told me this. Danny, you told me this. Anytime I do this, I have to use the parentheses because I am trying to just have a written words. Leech, then this should be easy. I mean, it's easy. It's just it's not really easy. It's just I'm not good at it. Like, just because you go to college doesn't mean that you're going to be able to cut someone's chest open and take lungs out. But to me, that's fairly easy. I think college just prepares you to be flexible, coachable. And it's called Operation Zero, Operation Parentheses. But I don't think college really makes you good at anything. I think it just gives you the skills to get better at things. Makes you flexible. I think what's the motto of Harvard's business school? You don't go to Harvard Business School to learn business. You go to Harvard Business School to do business. And I think that's aesthetically the best way to describe it. It's overtime is the word I was thinking about because that's what I needed to say. No, for sure. But I'm also more of a doer, like physical things, because I could read a book, but then it's like I work on computers. But if I ever wanted to know like the history of like coding and stuff like that, I think that'd be a great podcast to listen to. But if you asked me to read the book, I'd probably be like, is it on Audible? I don't even read medical journals anymore because like you just glaze your eyes over it looking for keynote information. Like I've been taught in the way of medical, so I just need to know what the answer is. I don't really need to know the backstory, and that's probably hurting me here because I just want to know what to do next. But if you can read your steps, you can tell yourself what to do. You don't really need anyone to tell you. All right, so this is the part where I need to, okay, so I'm printing. And the thing I'm printing is going to be the calculation. So this is the thing that I need to think about. It's not another, it's sort of going to be like the stuff up here, but it's going to be the calculation because I'm doing the calculation now. So let's call this overtime pay. Let's make this equal to the calculation at hand. So it's going to be, oh man, think. So it's float hours minus 40. Close that. Times my float rate times 0.5. Now I need to print this. I need to print this. I need this to show up. So I can go print parentheses. No, for sure. Like if there's like Leech, if you're telling me there's like books out there that you like that would help, for sure, throw it in the Discord, man, because it's something I will read, but like I don't know when I would like it would have to be something I could read like on my downtime. You feel me? Let me find the Discord link. If you have any books or any PDFs, you have any suggestions, please join the Discord and drop it in there because a brother could use it. Clap it up for those people.
Oh yeah!
We need
Your precious armory, gratefully accepted. We will need it.
We will need it. Drop that shit. All right, where was I? Okay, so now I need to get this to print. I need this to print I need this to print what? I need this to print what? I need this to print overtime pay. Overtime. You motherfucker. Overtime pay. Overtime pay. Okay, now I gotta go back to his example because I don't know. It would just give me overtime pay, but I don't know how I didn't define this, so I don't know what I would do here. Hold on, where did he go? Oh, okay, I see what I did. I missed the line. He defined reg. Regular would just be the normal rate. Okay. Okay, so I just need to add reg. Okay, okay. Not a problem, not a problem. So let's go back up because I'm assuming it's position oriented. It's like position based. So we got a reg. Or should, yeah, we'll call that reg because, oh shit, my Discord's going off. Reg equals FR. No, I gotta use my shit. So it's F rate times F hour. All right, so now I can do overtime. Print overtime in reg. All right, so now I have those. And then we can get a total. Let's call it T pay. Total pay, which would then be reg plus overtime. All right, let's run this. Total pay. Okay. I didn't know if like T pay. Like I'm trying to get better with the little shorthand. Or is T pay not T pain? Let's run this. Let's see how far we get with this. Enter hours. So we want to say, let's say we worked 80 at a rate of $1. Oh, honestly, the more, oh shit, it still doesn't work. Okay. Oh wait, it's not working because I didn't save. And since I didn't save, we can go ahead and just add total underscore. Let's hit Control S. Let's try again. Whoops. Let's go 80. Enter $1, $10. Your overtime was 200. Oh shit. Your regular pay was $200. Your overtime pay would be $800. Nah, I gotta use smaller numbers.
I think I could maybe explain what's going on here.
Yeah, I was about to say I gotta use smaller numbers. My brain isn't working. Let me show you. Let me show you my screen.
The difference with this calculation versus last time is last time. Remember how I was talking about we have like two piles of money?
Yes.
The first pile of money is your first 40 hours worked, and that is just, up to 40 hours times whatever your hourly rate is. And then after that, every hour you work is worth 1.5 times whatever your hourly rate is. So $10 an hour becomes 15, for example, right? The way that this calculation is being done, and another thing I'm not a super fan of, is if you look at line 8, where it's F rate times F hour can be larger than 40. So what you're saying is, I'm going to take the rate and multiply it by however many hours worked, even if it was like 80 or 100 hours, and you're calling that regular pay. In reality, it's not really regular pay. I guess it would be regular pay if you'd never made overtime and you worked 80 hours, then it would just be 80 hours times, your pay rate. And then he does a separate calculation for just that extra 50% pay for the overtime hours only. So there's still two piles of money, but they're organized in a different way for this implementation and these calculations than when we did them last time. Personally, I think last time was a little more intuitive.
Yes.
More so how it works.
Yes.
This one, the math still comes out to be the same. It should still come out to be the same. It's just, I think, maybe slightly harder to understand.
No,
does that make
sure.
sense?
No, for sure. I think for I am going with the route of, yeah. So so I wanted to use numbers that I could actualize in my head. So 100 hours at $1 rate. He would get overtime his regular pay would be 30. Wait, no. His overtime pay would be $30 and his regular pay would just be 100. But that's not right.
It is right for this way of doing the calculations. Because if you look at the regular time pay, all it is hourly rate times hours worked.
Oh.
If your hourly rate is $1 and you worked 100 hours, that is $100.
You're just gonna get $100, yeah.
Right. In reality, the way you and I would probably think about it is you have $40 of regular pay.
Yeah.
Plus whatever the overtime is. Yeah. So the numbers that are being displayed are correct. The calculations are correct. It's just like, what do you define as overtime pay? Basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like, I need to take my reality out of it. Okay.
Or you can write the code around your reality. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can make this calculation. You can write this code, and it's completely up to you. That's the beauty of writing code.
No, for sure. Okay. Well, and I'm only doing it this way because I know the next example is going to be his you need his thing, so I want to have it set up and ready, because once I finish with this, then we can go offline with it. I appreciate everybody sticking around though. I know Southern had to take care of the young one. We had Leech, you still here? We had Codosaurus follow, and we had Kudo follow. Both of them big helps. We also had, I don't know who this is. Nick, when did Nick get here? Nick, I missed you and I didn't even, oh wait, this was on the other day. But Nick, if I didn't say hi to you then, I'm saying hi to you now. Thank you all for following. I appreciate it. Definitely helps the channel out. As long as that Twitch number stays above 3, I'll finally be able to get affiliated. I think I've been on this grind for affiliation for like 6 months. But the more people watching, the better off we are. So yeah. All right, let's finish this up and then we can upgrade my shit and hopefully turn my computer off because I can hear it crying, begging for a break. So the else statement is what we need to write now, and the else statement should just be a repeat of this. So we're gonna go print, and we need this, and we're gonna say print I guess we'll use their example. It's pretty shit. Regular. We can add extra word. Regular pay. We can be extra. Um, and then we can use reg again. That equals float hour times float rate. And then we just need to print the results of this. Pay reg. All right, let's try it out. Control S. Oops. CLS. Enter hour. So let's just see if the regular one. So we'll go 39. 4 all right, and it skipped the if. It skipped the if statement. So this is perfect. All right, so this works. It works in it, but it's not intuitive to me. So that's kind of the disappointing part, because it's not how I would expect myself, like how I would normally write my own pay stuff, but it still makes sense. So we can Dan, what's your plan here?
I'm probably gonna be up for a little bit longer, maybe another hour max. I would like to get the Windows subsystem for Linux, like, installed on your machine tonight, if you have time, or we can do that tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you got
think
time,
that'll
that
help a
is
lot,
this is this something we need to do offline, or like is it gonna like, because I'm assuming it's just me, you, and my mom watching this stream now. So I
you could do it on stream if you want, off stream, doesn't matter to me.
well, yeah, we can do it, because probably somebody else will want to know how to do it. So okay, let's do it.
Okay, I posted a link in the live chat channel a few hours ago here in Discord.
Download Mac Linux window.
Not that one. I think it should be developing. It should be titled "Developing in the Windows Subsystem for Linux with Visual Studio Code."
Let's go all the way up.
It's the latest thing in the channel, so it should be at the bottom.
Okay. Here we go. We got it.
I did install the Windows subsystem for Linux on my Windows machine back in California about a year ago, but I don't remember the exact steps. I'm sure we can figure it out, though. It looks like there's pretty verbose instructions here on this page.
So okay, because I don't know what we're doing, but basically, what are we doing in a nutshell?
So remember yesterday when I was talking about how each operating system is built on something called a kernel?
Mm-hmm.
A kernel is basically just, like, at a high level, it's just a way for the operating system to interface to the hardware. So like your RAM, your CPU,
Mm-hmm.
your GPU, all that kind of stuff. The Windows subsystem for Linux is basically like, it's almost like porting that kernel into the Windows operating system and treating it as like a subsystem. So it's almost like having a type of, are you familiar or have you heard at all of a virtual machine?
Oh, yeah. So like I remember this when I used to like when I used to like like backdoor into my like iPhone. I would have to have you would need a Mac computer, but I only had a Windows, so I would have like a virtual Mac, and it would trick my phone into thinking it was a Mac computer.
Yeah, this is kind of like that, except it's even more like integrated. So rather
Oh
than
man.
just a virtual machine where everything's emulated inside of the operating system, I think with the Windows subsystem for Linux, you're actually like giving a portion of hardware control to the Linux kernel within the Windows
Oh wait, hold
kernel
on.
somehow.
I might have to I might have to consider this because like it then will take away other processes, or I mean, it'll definitely put a hampering on the system.
Uh, that I'm not so sure about. Um, I have a hard time believing that they would bring this into the Windows operating system and just let it run wild. They probably put a cap on it and only allow it certain portions um, of like time
Sure.
in the CPU. So like the Windows kernel's probably still like the overarching master, but um, I'm not super familiar with the subsystem. I definitely recommend reading it up on it though. That'd be good to know.
Hmm.
All I know is that at a high level, and why we're doing this, the motivation for this is that you will be able to get an actual command line that has all of the like core command line utilities that Mac or Linux have that Windows does not have. And you can integrate that into VS Code. So remember when we opened a terminal in VS Code before,
Oh, and it'll all be
but we
on one
didn't use it?
page.
The reason we
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, the reason we didn't use that terminal before is because it was using Windows PowerShell, which is basically just like another. It's a slightly better terminal that Windows offers, but it's still not what we want by any means. So
All right.
this um, this is a kind of like a two-part series. What we're going to do here, first and foremost, we're going to install this Windows subsystem for Linux, and then we're going to integrate it into VS Code. And at that point, like we should be in pretty good shape to have everything in one window for next stream.
All right. Cool. So I'm just hit the download. Screw it. Let's rock. uh. Wait. Visual Studio Code. I already feel like I already have this. Leech is asking, why don't we just use Linux?
I actually did consider saying like, oh, maybe you should just get a Raspberry Pi and hook that up and just dev on that. And that would not actually be a bad option at all. But that's probably like more hardware setup than you want to do because you're already all configured for streaming and everything on this machine. So I think this is probably the most lightweight middle ground. And just get your feet wet. So we could
Leech is shitting on your Raspberry Pi idea. He's saying it's Raspberry Pis are shit.
for writing little Python scripts, they're great. Like you can pay $5 and have a microcomputer that runs a Linux distribution and you can develop on. So that's great. I don't know why they get so much
am
hate.
I hitting download on this one? Am I even in the right program? I don't think I
No,
am.
no, no, no. You already downloaded Visual
Yeah,
Studio
I
Code.
already have this.
Yeah, you
So
don't
I'm
you don't have
looking
to do that part.
for something on the side. Windows subsystem for Linux.
Yeah, yeah, it should be developing in WSL is the page. So the page you're on is not the page you want, but I
So I
think
need
I'm
to find
also
developing
got a little bit lag.
Extensions.
Just go back and maybe click that link again. It should take you to a page, and the first thing you see is like developing in WSL. Oh, actually, there's a really nice diagram here. It shows how the VS Code and WSL integration works.
Oh, okay. Install remote development extension pack. That's what you were saying?
Stand by. Okay, so yeah, scroll down to the installation section if you haven't done that already. And start with number 1, which is installing the Windows subsystem for Linux, along with your preferred Linux distribution. I'd recommend Ubuntu. It's pretty pretty user friendly.
Oh man, this is.
So just click on that link next to number 1 under installation.
Yeah, I'm there now, but now I'm looking at everything else. Prerequisites to check your window version, build number, select log key R, select OK, run update, and latest window version. Select start set. I already feel like I did that. Where's the button?
All right, I could probably just talk you through this. That would make it any easier. There you go. Yeah, you're on the right page now. So it looks like what you want to do is open up the administrator PowerShell on Windows. So hit the super key, which is like the Windows key, and then type PowerShell, and then you should be able to right click on it and run as administrator.
PowerShell. I have 86. I got 3 of them. Just the original PowerShell.
Windows PowerShell.
Yeah, I have an 86 version. I have an ISE version.
I think you're probably going to want the 86 version.
All right, I'm in there.
With administrator privileges?
Yes.
Cool. So now just type WSL space -- install. I'll post the command in the live chat channel in Discord.
WSL space G2. Baby Drew's been jamming the whole night. So what do you use then, Leech? Okay. Oh, the Discord message didn't pop up in the chat. That's interesting. It must not be linked right now. All right. And then I assume I'm just hitting enter on that.
Yep, looks like it.
All right. Display usage information. Let me pull my screen up. Let me get another tab so you can see this. So you can see what I'm saying. Windows capture, add. I don't have a random tab one. I thought I made one yesterday. Random. So what do you do? Like, so what's your thing, Leech? Are you a programmer already? Like, what brings you young PowerShell? All right, cool. All right, give it a second, Johan. Okay, C++. How long have you been programming?
Do you feel in charge?
That's a valid question. All right, you should be able to see it on my stream now. Oh, you're in security.
All right. Okay, so the reason that failed out is it looks like you entered WSL twice. So if you just press the up arrow, it should go back to that command again, and then get rid of those first 3 or 4 characters there.
All right, I hit enter. Installing virtual machine platform. I hear I kicking up. I ain't heard you make that sound in a minute. She's stretching her legs out. Well, if this completely destroys my computer, then that's just a sign that I needed an upgrade anyway. Oh, so since grade 6. Oh, are you from you're not from the US? Since grade 6, that's not they use that in the European, that's their grade 6. So how do I know when it's done? It doesn't have a bar or anything. This is very monotonous. No, that's cool. Like, and that's why I'm like I picked up on my coding. I said now is better than never, and I think it's going to be a big part of what I want to do in the future as far as sustaining internal happiness. But no, kudos to you.
Especially check on the kid again. I'll be back in a few.
Okay, cool. And it just finished, or so it seems. 30%. Oh, cool. It's calculating now. Well, I'm happy that you decided to join us. Hopefully you can make it for another stream. I feel like you have a ton of great insight and a lot of expertise in your field as far as like safety is concerned, because like I work in a hospital, so I know ransomware issues are a forever problem. But I appreciate you coming to the stream, man. Appreciate you coming to the stream. Clap it up. Drop a bomb for you. You deserve it. You deserve that bomb. You're the man. Because I know
I was born in it, molded by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, this thing's starting to load faster. You got any plans for tomorrow? Yeah. Oh, there's the colonel he was talking about. I'm just happy to have people helping me do this. I don't think I would have ever made it this far. Like, it would have taken me weeks. So are you a student? Are you in school, or like what's your deal? Cuz going to a cafe and studying CS sounds awesome. Oh man, that's great. That's great. Uni, you're a foreign. You're not. I want to say foreigner, but like, I was in Toronto for like 2 years. But uni, and the way you said grade, grade 6 instead of 6th grade lets me know you're not American, or at least you didn't grow up here. But that's great. Oh, if you're in university, you probably are like super like, what the hell is this guy writing? What is he doing? His shit's all over the place. I'm sorry, but like, I just really enjoy this newfound passion of mine. You know?
Oh yeah!
So,
All right, I'm back.
how's the young one?
He's good, sleeping soundly.
That's how
Looking
we
forward.
like it. That's the way we like it. Yeah, I was just picking Leech's brain over here, out here. Uni, going to a cafe tomorrow. Life is good for Leech. All right, so it was loading,
Alright,
but I think
so-
we're done. Successful, yeah. Changes will be effective until system
Yep.
is rebooted. Shit. So I gotta shut
Yep,
off.
So when you run this the first time, or when you run this as is without anything else, the default is Ubuntu, which is good. That's what I
Okay.
wanted you to get. That's Ubuntu. Sorry, Ubuntu is the distribution, and when Leech said Fedora, that's
Yeah.
another distribution. So Linux is like an open source kernel, and again, the kernel is the thing that like interfaces the operating system to the hardware resources and like schedules tasks between different programs to allow access to those hardware resources and does a bunch of other things. And there are a lot of operating systems that that are referred to as like distributions that all come from the same Linux kernel. And so Fedora will be slightly different. What Leech uses will be slightly different than Ubuntu, which is what you're going to be using. So Ubuntu.
Why do you
is
prefer Ubuntu?
so Ubuntu is like one of the more user friendly, especially for like new people to Linux distributions. It doesn't have as many advanced tools. It does come with some extra things installed that some like mega nerds would refer to as bloat, but I think it's gonna be totally fine for you.
Man, there's a bunch
So-
of bloated shit on my computer. Like every day I look at some shit, I'll be like, what, this shit. I bought my computer in 2019 and it says last used 2017. I'm like, these motherfuckers.
Yeah, I use Ubuntu at work every single day, and it's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ubuntu
It
cool,
does steal
but
some
it's,
data.
it steals
It does.
data. What is like what type of data?
Just like user metrics and stuff, and sells it just like everyone else does.
Oh yeah.
Make some bucks.
If you got
But-
Facebook, you're already screwed. So
I don't know if that applies to the subsystem, the Windows subsystem for Linux. I know it applies to like the actual distribution. I'm not sure about the WSL. That'd be interesting to look at. Anyway, totally fine. So we'll stick with that for now. That's good. According to the guide, it says that you should from that point follow the where was it? Oh yeah, set up best practices. Yep. So we need to set up like your Linux username and password. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. To change your password, you're going to are you in the you're gonna have to open the WSL first and foremost. So hit the Windows key
all right.
and just type Ubuntu and see if anything pops up. You might not have to restart actually.
UBU.
NTU.
Nah, it's not showing up.
Okay, so you may
I
need
may
to
have
actually
to
restart.
restart. Yeah.
Yeah, in which case maybe just like end stream and we can finish it up when you get back.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow too, like either works.
Yeah, let's because that way, like we'll have people. We'll start this first because I feel like I want this to be captured because I feel like this is like good information. We can pick up on tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, let's do that. Danny, I appreciate you as always. Y'all clap it up for Danny real quick, man. Before we get out of here, drop a bomb for that. Drop 2 bombs. Drop 1 more. Hey, Kevin. What's up? We in here.
Apology accepted.
Yeah, we love it. Hey, I appreciate Danny. Thanks for all your help, man. We definitely got a lot of stuff done. Hey, Leech with the follow. We in here. But we're gonna end the stream here. Tomorrow, what do we have on the schedule? I have probably just watch. I'm supposed to be going to the national championship game, but I don't really feel like being around that many people. So I'll probably just drive with my brother down there and then just like watch it in the hotel. Like I can't deal with being around that many people. My anxiety will kill me. But we'll also, it's a one-way trip for me. I'm doing a red eye, and I'm definitely not staying for the traffic. But I want to let's just thank the people on the stream. Leash for sure. We got Codasaurus that was in here. Kudo was through today. And we had 3 new followers. So I'm really enjoying this community. There's a big part of me that feels like I'm going to just make this either like a coding channel and push the comic book and the gaming to another station, because the algorithm clearly favors me in this department. I've never had an audience doing any of those other things. So if the algorithm gods are listening, I will be here.
It doesn't matter who we are.
We will be here.
What matters is our plan.
Yes, and if that's the plan the algorithm has for me, we will do it. So I appreciate you guys coming through. Danny said he'll be back on tomorrow with me. We'll get Danny a whiteboard and we'll get him a touch screen so we can get him on here, because like y'all don't need me fumbling around with this. Danny just need to go ahead and make his own stream so we can follow him, and then that way I can just stop doing this. But for meantime and in between time, I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves and be good to one another. All right. Hey, stay on. Don't log off.